Declare the ordinary council meeting of 20th of August 2025 open at 3:33. I remind all present that mobile phones must be switched off before the meeting and the meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Wingecarribee Shire Council acknowledges the Gundungurra and Tharawal people as the traditional custodians of this land. I pay my respect to the traditional custodians, their ancestors who cared for this country for many thousands of years, and their elders and descendants who continue to care for country. I would also like to extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, including those here today. Councillors, you're reminded of the oath of office made by you under section 233A of the Act and your obligation under Council's Code of Conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflicts of interest. We do have an apology of leave. Could I get a second to accept that apology? Councillor Russell. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. We now move to the minutes, confirming the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of July 2025. I'll take these as read. Could I please have a seconder? Councillor Kent. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Are there any declarations of interest? No declarations. Okay. First up, we have a very exciting mayoral minute. I might read this one out. I don't usually. This week marks a special and historic moment for Council. For the first time, a baby has been born to a serving councillor. Hence the apology. We extend our warmest congratulations to Councillor Therese Duffy and her husband Anthony on the arrival of their beautiful daughter Amelia Therese Duffy, born at 4 p.m. on Monday, 18th of August 2025. Amelia is the fourth child in the Duffy family, joining her proud siblings Thomas, Eleanor and James. This joyful occasion highlights the inclusive and supportive environment we strive to foster at Council, one where family life and civic duty are embraced side by side. It is truly inspiring to see Councillor Duffy living the values of our community strategic plan, especially those of inclusion, wellbeing and active civic participation. Please join me in celebrating this wonderful news and in wishing Councillor Duffy and her family every happiness in this new chapter. And before I put this, would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Foley.
I'd just like to echo your words and congratulate Councillor Duffy on the safe arrival of her beautiful daughter.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, Councillor Moylan.
And I look forward to seeing the young Amelia sitting in one of these chairs when she, as soon as she possibly can.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. With that, Councillor Smith.
I have a question. Is that the first baby born to a councillor in the Wingecarribee during office?
General Manager.
We believe that to be the case, Councillor Smith. There you go. History, again.
Okay. I'll now put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, I now move a procedural motion that we resolve the order of business be changed in order to bring forward the following items for consideration by exception and that the officer's recommendation for each item be adopted. The items I would like to deal with by exception are item 9.2, item 9.3, item 9.11, item 9.14, item 9.16, item 9.17, item 9.19, item 9.20, item 9.21, item 9.23. Are there any items within this list that councillors would like to speak or vote against? Okay, I'll grab a seconder, please. Councillor Kent, all those in favour? That is carried unanimous. Oh, sorry.
Can we pull out 9.14?
Okay, well, yep, sure thing. So we'll put 9.14 back in. Okay. Could I now have a seconder, please? Councillor Kent, all those in favour, and that is carried unanimously. 2 seconds. Councillors, I move a further procedural motion that we bring forward 3 items, and I might be guided just for the people in the audience. Which one were they, Shelley? So 9.4. Yeah.
The Creative Highlands,
Is 9.12, and the NOM notice of motion is 10.2. So we'll deal with them in that order first. If everyone's happy with that, I'll put in a seconder. Councillor Kent, all those in favour? It is carried unanimously. Okay. With that, let me just bring this up. Okay. 9.4. Okay. Councillors, 9.4, planning proposal to amend clause 4.2F, subdivision land for dual occupancies. The recommendation is on page 15 of the agenda. Could I get a mover for this, please? Councillor Foley, could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Champion. Okay, would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Russell. Apologies, Councillor Foley, did you want to speak to this? Sorry, Councillor Russell.
I would like to take on board the comments that were made in the public forum today by the community member. It is part of a dynamic, vibrant village, and I have lived in them, for it to be a bustling community. And there's a lot of arguments about setbacks not needing to be far back at all in order to ensure that you have a vibrant village atmosphere. I can think of quite a number of places actually in Berrima where the bustling community village atmosphere is enhanced by the proximity of the front veranda to the front of the fence. So I am going to vote against this.
Okay, thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Okay. I will now put the motion. All those in favour? And that is, okay, so Councillor Champion, Councillor Duff, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Smith. All those against? Councillor Russell. That is carried. Next one was 9.12. 9.12, Creative Highlands. The recommendation is on page 44 of the agenda. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Smith. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Foley. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I think this is an excellent report and obviously very dear to my heart. I do actually have a question just through the General Manager, just in relation to the public forum and some of the questions there. I just have a question around whether that would actually be possible. There's a mention of applying for a grant. I'd imagine that the resources involved in this for council would be quite a bit, and it's perhaps going away from our broader strategy to reinstate this sort of arts newsletter. I'm wondering if we can have a bit more information around the decision.
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I will ask the Director of Corporate Strategy and Resourcing to answer that. Both the Creative Highlands and the communication and engagement strategy are both being driven and prepared out of corporate strategy and resourcing, and as you note, they are entwined. Director.
Thank you, General Manager. Thank you, Councillor Smith, for the question. Just so I'm clear, the question is around the resourcing load or the decision not to continue, or both? Okay. I think I'll refer the latter question to the Manager, Community Life and Libraries, but in terms of applying for the grant, it would depend on the complexity of the grant, but realistically we need to start with the outcome in mind. So I think there's a first step there is to investigate all of the options around establishing first of all, understanding the need, because I do note that this was engaged heavily with the arts community in developing the plan. So in terms of, and again, the manager may be able to respond more specifically as to the outcomes of that engagement, but we need to start with the outcome. So what is it that we're achieving, and is this the right way, and do everybody want it? Manager?
Thank you, Director. So starting with the community engagement, so I acknowledge what the community member raised about the noise you need to cut through to get, promoting events out, etc. The newsletter did come up through community engagement, but certainly what we've done since then is also establish a cultural arts network, and it's divided about whether implementing another newsletter the way that it was done previously is the right way. But I do acknowledge that there's a lot that's on, and that we do need to, promote that or get that out there. And that's why, as part of the strategy, it was about having digital notice boards within town centres. That was quite, heavily wanted within the arts community as well as the general community, the What's On. There's already existing platforms that are used, and again, because the arts strategy is intertwined somewhat with the comms strategy, we are certainly hearing about a digital first approach. So, and again, that was coming through as well in the engagement about arts and culture. There is already the tourism website has an events component. Even looking at that today, there's lots on there about what's on from all the different groups. But I also, take on board that they're volunteers and they have to upload themselves. And again, it may be that we work with those artist communities to build their capacity. So it may be that we work with Southern Tablelands Arts to help artists to be able to use those tools, etc. So in terms of, I recognise the importance, whether we can do that now. Our arts worker is 3 days a week. In the plan, councillors, the community can see that we've put in there to try to get an arts trainee. If we were more resourced, I guess being able to do an arts newsletter is something then we could reconsider on what that looks like. But I'd certainly want to take it. I want to explore options and take that back to the arts and cultural community, and also whether council has to drive that. So it may not be best placed that we do. It might be that another organisation does that. So in terms of then applying for the grant, again, I would have to look at what is the quick response grant. So I had a quick look. I spoke to the public participant yesterday, have had a quick look. So again, I'd have to look at the form in terms of what that would look like in terms of us applying, but they're very competitive from what I've seen, and whether council would be up there in getting something like that. The other thing I would just add is that we, as part of the corporate relations review that occurred in 2021 about communications, it was about consolidating e-newsletters. And so we do have a weekly e-news, as we're all aware. So certainly there could be something that we look at from an arts and culture side. How do we get information into there? But weekly, to be listing everything from community cultural organisations, that wouldn't occur in that forum.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
And two more questions through the General Manager, if I can. You mentioned the digital notice board. I think it would be great to have a clearer understanding of what that is, because obviously that's digital, but I'm guessing it's to reach people who are less online. So really understanding that. And then the second question is, I assume this is not a static process. Communication is not a static thing. It's ongoing. So this doesn't mean there'd be no consultation ongoing, and I'm asking if that's correct.
General Manager.
Through Mr Mayor, back to Ms Badgett-Julieff. Thanks.
So we haven't scoped what the digital notice boards look like yet. So I don't want to say what they will look like. However, exactly, it's what was proposed is that they're in the town centres. And that they're electronic, so not like with just the red writing, so it would have an image, etc. So that's where we could possibly, remotely, so it allows us remotely, we've got them down in customer service where we might have flyers on there. So again, we can work with the community groups to have their information up on the boards. But in terms of exactly what they look like. I don't want to say that today because I'm not sure, but I would use the example of what we have here in council, even at customer service, as an example of that. But the beauty of those, that we can do those remotely. We're not having to go out and put up posters and compete with someone deleting it, as was raised. It sits here within council. The second question was... And that keeps going. So whatever is decided tonight, our role is to ensure we engage with our arts and culture community, our whole community, and look at the best ways to be able to communicate. So if we will do that regardless. The conversation will continue. I think, again, for me, what's needed is that upskilling as well. So I, want to look at how do we support our artists, and I appreciate they may not have time, they may not have the resources to be able to do things. And then looking at, well, if we don't apply for the grant, can we work with another group or arts organisation to get this off the ground? So the conversation doesn't stop just because it may not be actually written.
Thank you. Councillor Champion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you to the GM and Ms Badgett-Jolliffe, probably. I wanted to ask more about the notice boards. These have been brought up with me a lot over the last year, and particularly over the last week, coming up to the adoption of this strategy. So in the strategy, we're saying that notice boards are to be digital only. That's the expectation. A lot of people have been reaching out to me just saying, why? So I'd like to ask you that question. Could we not have a blended system where we have some digital and some paper? And what are the reasons for the decision that is in the strategy?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Bear, and back to the manager. Thanks.
I think the reason for digital was really focusing on the town centres. So if we went, Mittagong, Moss Vale, Bowral, it was about that we could change things over. So again, remotely, it's not about having to have staff going out, for example, and having to pin posters up everywhere. So it was that we could, I guess, for that ease, and again, that display could be ever changing. So, and then you can also schedule things. So in terms of resourcing, in terms of efficiency, if you can schedule it, whereas I go up to notice boards now, even here, and there's things out of date. So, it's about someone having to go up and remove that. I don't think that's the best for our time as staff, but also for the community seeing something out of date. However, it doesn't stop, say, within the villages or even where there are notice boards within town centres, that there still can't be physical displays. I'm not saying we don't use them, but certainly when we were a part of the engagement, when we did talk about physical notice boards, there was input that why aren't they digital? Why aren't you leaning into that? So, but I think there's room for both. But the reality is there are no digital notice boards like that. So yes, some of the community organisations, some of the villages do have notice boards and they promote what's on, and you can see that when driving. This was really targeting the town centres, that, you walk from the cinema or you might walk through Corbett Plaza, you don't know what's on in Bowral, and it will allow us to be able to promote those things.
Councillor Champion.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question to you, Mr Mayor. Acknowledging that resourcing is a balance in both directions between digital and paper, and that, installing the digital notice boards would be an expense. I'm thinking about the acknowledging that upskilling is necessary for the community and being able to use these systems properly, and not to create a bottleneck that will prevent it from being used at all or being used effectively. Do we have the resourcing that will allow that to be the community to be supported in that way? Do we have, because it seems to me that the common thread between the notice boards and the community arts newsletter is that people need support to get the information out there.
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So council subscribes and supports Southern Tablelands Arts, and they provide a lot of support in that space. The manager may wish to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. So yes, we would work with Southern Tablelands Arts as we're a member of them, and look at what would be required. So we'd find out exactly what our arts community would need, but there's also other courses available. So even a simple example today, we held our Cultural Arts Network meeting. We had Sydney Southern Surrounds come and speak, and they gave a course that our artist community can do to be up on their websites as well. So again, we would find those either whether it's online classes, whether it's bringing someone in to speak, but our role is to support that, and we can do that as part of our role and our membership.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, are you aware how many of the functions that the Arts Info newsletter were hosted in council buildings?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think the manager would be better placed to respond to that. Thanks, councillor.
Through you, General Manager, Councillor Russell, do you mind repeating the question because I don't understand? Thanks.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, through to the... yeah.
Oh, good, just ask it.
Yeah. Are you aware how many of these functions actually occur in council buildings?
I couldn't answer that, sorry, in terms of how many performances. Is that what you're talking about? Yep, so I couldn't answer that, I'm sorry, at that time, because it's from 2019 backwards.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, could this small investment of energy actually be seen as a way of reinvigorating public awareness of events and functions that are in council buildings so that community members are more confident to put on events, and then we'd get more fees in for the hall hires?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Russell, when you reference small investment, can you just explain to me what you're referring to? It'll help me. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm just thinking that in terms of the small investment in hours, in staff hours, we're potentially getting a lot of bang for our buck in terms of making sure that there's more bums on seats in community events in council facilities, and therefore it boosts confidence that we can put on more events in council facilities.
So I'm sorry to cut off. I'm a little bit lost. So the conversation here, what do we want to do more of? Does that make sense? Like, what are we suggesting we're doing more of? Is this putting posters out, or I'm just... Yeah,
Sorry to clarify. It's about putting out a newsletter. I'm specifically talking about the Arts Info newsletter here, and I used to get it, and I used to know how effective it was to skim through an enormous amount of, different options in a very simple template formula. And I'm just thinking that we've had discussions about how to revitalise and our community facilities and get more things happening. And if this is a simple way that we can send out an email and it supports the community groups who contribute to it, then this is a really good option.
So
I'm wondering if that's been that sort of benefit to council. I'm wondering if that has been factored in to this decision not to support it initially.
General Manager.
I'll ask the director to respond, because I believe we're talking about two things here. We're talking about a paper-based newsletter, and then I think I heard you say also email newsletter. Director?
Councillor Russell, just for clarification, the publication was distributed by email? Yeah. And so the question is whether or not consideration was taken into not including it in this plan document with reference to the broader activation strategy for council facilities. I'm going to be honest and say probably not at this point in time. The purpose of the plan and the consultation was clearly around how we activate and engage artists and support artists as a facilitator and enabler.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
I'd like to move an amendment. So it would be, I'll send it through to governance. Actually, I might just read it out because my computer keyboard's going funny.
Go ahead.
So it would be that Council adopt the Creative Highlands 2025 to 2029 with the following amendments. So it would be little I, explore grant funding opportunities to provide an adjunct to Council's resources. To reinstate the email database that previously existed for the Arts Info newsletter. Two, Arts Info newsletter because it's a specific thing. Two is support, or little two, yeah, to support the community to create a template inclusive of Wingecarribee Shire Council branding. That the community, sorry, I'm going to say for the community. For the community to populate on a fortnightly basis. And three would be support a revived Arts Info newsletter by sending the plain text email provided by our arts community and populated by the arts community groups So support a revived Arts Info newsletter by sending the plain text email provided by our arts community, comma, and, oh no, you can take, just back to community. Provided by our arts community into the agreed template. Comma, to the subscribers fortnightly. That's it.
Councillor, just with as far as resourcing and obviously the conversation about not having adequate resourcing, is this entire thing based on the finding of grants?
Thank you for your question, Mayor. No, it's not. So the grant funding would simply be...
Item one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Could I get a seconder for this? Councillor Champion. Councillor Russell.
This, the Arts Info newsletter, I used to get it, and it was a very efficient way for me to canvass all of the things that were on in the Highlands without turning over pages and pages. I find that in this day and age, you can put bells and whistles on things, but sometimes you can't build a better mousetrap. We have a lot of community events happening all the time in the Highlands, and there's clearly an issue in how we communicate that really flexibly and easily to our community. I found that this was a really inclusive format for all ages and all stages. So people who didn't necessarily want a lot of stimulation when they were reading were able to absorb the information in the document. It's had an enormous amount of success in the past, and you know, you can see by the fact that it had about 89 to 90 events, you know, fortnightly. That's a way of telling you how successful it was, and it's a way of us getting better income in. So it can invigorate our community halls and our cultural life. But also, if the community are populating a template, then it's not going to require the staff hours that it used to require. I know that I've spoken to Jenny Kenner about this, and she said that it did used to take her about 3 hours a fortnight. Now, the beauty of having the community populating their own template is that it's not going to require those hours. It just requires the staff to send it out on the community's behalf. And it's a beautiful partnership. We can brand it as such and, in a way, showcase all of the events really simply that we've got going on in the Highlands. It'll be good information for us to know as well by managing this database.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Could I just ask a question of the General Manager? I know it's sort of a small thing, but resources are resources, and if we don't have the resources, something gets bumped from our delivery program. I mean, with these types of things, should there be some sort of acknowledgement to the operational side that if we're tacking things on or adding things on, that it's there's an expectation that we would fall short on the delivery if that resource is switched out? Does that? I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I understand. It would be really a question for the manager, because at the manager level, they know what the work plans are, they know what the deliverables are, and it may mean we reshuffle things, and that's okay, you know, but there needs to be an understanding that maybe other things don't happen or they get pushed back, and that is okay. That's a decision.
Okay, and I mean, I guess maybe a conversation for another day, but we do tend to change things every now and then. I mean, probably can't answer this, but I was thinking, should there be some sort of acknowledgement or something built into our amendments to cover this, or is it just generally acknowledged that's what's going to happen?
I might ask the manager, or alternatively, we can bring something back and say what may need to be amended.
I don't want to sort of bring another report and create more work. I just mean in general, as we go through all things with all amendments, as we push things on, things must fall off. I guess maybe me drawing attention to it is enough for now, and we'll see how we go. So I'll leave it there. So, Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I'll just remind councillors that this is about a broader Creative Highlands strategy, and Councillor Russell's amendments are very specific and very operational. To say something like reinstate an email database, I'll remind Councillor Russell that this was from 2019, so that data would be out of date. You can't just reinstate a database and then hand it out willy-nilly. I think also creating a template and populating it, based on my own personal experience, you also can't. The logistics of that are fraught, and particularly if we're putting a council logo on something, it will be inferred it's council. So I think there would be extensive resources involved, and I would like to just check in. I'd also remind that there were 2 submissions made in relation to this entire strategy. And I think the manager made clear that this is an ongoing process. It's very open. I'm actually on the Southern Tablelands Arts. I'm as a representative also involved in the arts community. I think there's a lot of ways to really take on the feedback, but I feel very concerned that we're getting into the minutiae with this amendment. I'd feel very uncomfortable with it. And may I ask a question of the manager as well? If I could just ask through the GM of the manager, I think, these amendments to me seem very specific and would be labour intensive. Am I making the right assumptions there?
Through you, Mr Mayor, and that's a level of detail and activity I'll rely on the manager to respond to, but I do take your point about it is operational in nature. The manager will probably be able to give you more detail than I can in terms of what that means at a very hands-on level. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, General Manager. In terms of, we have an arts worker, arts and culture 3 days a week, so I acknowledge that creating a template and having community groups, cultural organisations put information on, but we would probably still have to vet it. So there'd have to be a disclaimer on there about what goes out, because it depends what it is. In terms of the template, so Councillor Smith, you are correct, because it is from 2019, we couldn't use the previous database, so we would have to encourage people to sign up for this newsletter, and that's fine. We've got Cultural Network emails already, so and then we could invite the community to join. We would use MailChimp, which I believe was used previously, and we currently use MailChimp for our existing ones, so we can set it up in the templates. It would take a little while, but then once it's there, it should drive itself. But the General Manager is correct, then we would just shuffle what the work of our 3 day a week position would be working on, because the plan outlines, again, strategy over the next 4 years, but there's other work that she has within her day-to-day that doesn't appear in a plan, because it's business as usual.
Okay, thank you. Anyone's Councillor Foley.
I'm not sure who this question might be to, but so to you, Mr Mayor. I'm just curious whether this, because it is talking about the Creative Highlands and an art-specific newsletter, but it's also kind of touching on a communication and engagement strategy, and I'm wondering whether Councillor Russell's suggestion for an amendment here fits more within the communication and engagement strategy, or whether it's specific to the Creative Highlands strategy. So perhaps that is a question for Councillor Russell.
Councillor Russell.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Foley. I can see that it could fit in either or, and it does lead me to another question. But firstly, it does lead me to another question through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. With this, does it mean that we have to go, as it stands, do people have to go to Southern Tablelands Arts to get all of the arts information? How do people currently find out where the information is in your understanding?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think either the Director or the Manager outlined there are a number of avenues at the moment that the information is available. I'll ask the Manager to take this one, but as I think one of either the Manager or Director said, we have Destination Southern Highlands, we have the e-News, there are arts networks, we have physical gatherings of arts and cultural groups. Ms Badgett-Juleff.
Through you, General Manager, that's correct. So Councillor Russell, it goes, so Destination Southern Highlands has a What's On, so a weekly e-news that does outline a number of arts events, not necessarily the cultural, like Berrima Singers or, down to that level. However, on the website, you can upload your event every week. You can upload it to our My Shire. E-News, as I said, we can use to focus on arts and culture. where it links in with arts, with the communication strategy, we know people also want video. So certainly as part of the plans is to how do we highlight artists, etc. as part of that. But that's where we currently get the information. We're part of the Cultural Arts Network and Southern Tablelands Arts. So there's options depending on the community and the target audience.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Russell.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer, Manager. And I'm aware that there's been issues with those other formats as raised in the submission from Judy Coverdale that they haven't been
Councillor,
easy to do.
you got a question?
So,
Another
yes, I do. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the General Manager, are there more resources in the communications organisation side of council in terms of Councillor Foley's question?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there are no additional resources. I think I'll let Councillor Foley explain her question. Thank you.
So I was interested as to whether this idea about promoting the arts through the newsletter could be embedded into the communication and engagement strategy, noting that, as Councillor Russell has pointed out, it does sort of have a foot in each camp, but considering the work that's being done on communication and engagement as a real focus area, whether we can examine it somehow within that policy itself so that it sort of stays aligned with all of the other communication streams that the team is sort of working up at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kent.
Question to General Manager, please, through you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at the document before us, we've got basically a vetted, complete document, and then this suggestion, which is at a different level, really. Would these proposed amendments be in conflict with the current draft, or just things that could be actioned under the general strategy?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think there's been a bit of conversation around should there be a paper newsletter, should there be a specific newsletter. The Director made the point about what is the outcome we're trying to achieve, and the outcome that I believe we're all talking about is ensuring that the arts community are connected and that local community know what's on and it's being promoted, whether it's in a council asset, a facility, or if it's in a private asset or in a community-based organisation. I think the strategy that you have before you has been thoroughly consulted by the manager and her team, and as part of that they have talked to the arts community about how they would like to come together, how they would like to communicate and how they would like to promote. Councillor Smith made the point about, are we diving a little deep in terms of talking about the what rather than the why at that higher strategic level. I think that the strategy sets out the actions that are needed based on the consultation, based on the research. As the manager alluded to, we have business as usual as well. We have avenues, we have channels, we have networks, and they are certainly forums for this work to be communicated through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Farrell.
Thank you. I don't support the amendment. I'm concerned that this amendment will result in a cost to council that will impact other areas. Pretty basic.
Thank you.
That's about all I've got to say about it.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Councillor Champion.
I'd like to foreshadow an alternative amendment, please.
Can I get the wording of that?
Sure. Could you please remove sections 2 and 3? And then after explore grant funding opportunities, maybe grant funding, comma, volunteer and partnership opportunities. and instead of explore, I want to, if you could help me just slightly with the language here, I want to say explore grant funding, volunteer and partnership opportunities, and with the outcome dependent on those options. To provide, and then just, sorry, then to provide for the reinstatement of the Arts Info newsletter. So simplify the second half of that sentence as well.
Happy with that?
Just to reinstate, not with provide for, yeah, so partnership opportunities to reinstate the email database.
And grant funding? Oh, sorry, yeah, it is there. Yep.
Sorry, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we can
Grant
leave that
funding.
there. And then I want to add a second clause, please. Include a combined digital and paper notice board promotion strategy in the main town centres. Sorry, that's promotion strategy, notice board promotion strategy. In the main town centres. Yeah, and if you could just include paper after digital and there, please. Digital and paper. Thank you. That's
Okay, we'll go back. That's there. We'll leave that in the background, and we'll go back to the Councillor Russell's original amendment. And you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually going to withdraw my amendment from this agenda item because after considering the Deputy Mayor's excellent point about communications, I actually think that we might be better placed putting it in that.
Okay, thank you. So you'll withdraw, and you want to retain yours? Yes. Okay. And Councillor Smith, do you have anything? Sorry. So we'll go back to the foreshadowed amendment, which is now the new amendment.
And I do have a question through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Smith. I was wondering in what capacity you're involved with Southern Tablelands Arts.
I'm the councillor representative, and council voted on my role on that. I can't tell you what meeting, but it was a few months ago.
Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Champion, you have an amendment in front of us. I need a seconder for that. Councillor Moylan, Councillor Champion.
Thank you. Look, we've had plenty of conversation about this already. I just wanted to note that this alternative amendment deals with the issue of funding, I think, in a fairly straightforward way. And I want to add that my additions about a combined digital and paper notice board would have very little resource implications and this isn't the result of 2 submissions. This is the result of constant requests that I have received over the last year or so, and that's why I've decided to add it here. I hope for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Councillor Champion, given that we have the Creative Highlands document sort of reviewed and feedback received, etc., and now ready to go, would you consider separating 1 Roman numeral 1 and Roman numeral 2 into a separate matter and ask for a report back so that we could, essentially endorse the Creative Highlands strategy, which is a strategy level thing, and then ask for the feasibility of these more practical things as a separate report?
Certainly, Councillor Kent, thank you for the suggestion. If you'd like to add language to the amendment, I'd be happy to accept it.
Let's see if I can meet your expectations. So can I propose an alternative amendment that removes Roman numeral 1 and numeral 2 from item 1 and creates a new number 3? So, and we'll take out with the following amendments, so we'll adopt, the proposal will be to adopt the strategy. Yeah. Sorry, I think I've caused you to, no? Okay. So the new 3 would say something like, you know, Councillor Champion, work with me, you know, bring a report back to the council meeting on the feasibility of the following Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, something like that. Yep. Oh, at least it'll get done.
Okay, so we're sort of a bit procedurally out of whack at the moment. So I'll just say, are you happy to make this your amendment?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and then I will, so okay, before us we have the amendment. Councillor Champion spoken. Councillor Kent, you want to speak? Second it. I don't know that it needs a seconder. I'm a bit sorry, because it's a change. Anywho, that's okay. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Smith?
I have a question through you, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Champion. You've said in here, reinstate the email database. I question that.
Sorry, that's an error, and thank you for picking it up. I did not intend to include the word database. I meant to eliminate that from the language that was previously there. I just wanted to have reinstate the Arts Info newsletter. Very simple. Thank you.
And one more question. And also just include a combined digital and paper notice board promotion strategy in the main town centres. Bearing in mind this is Creative Highlands, this is about the arts, not comms. Is that element, is that intentional that that's only for arts?
Thank you, good question. I agree, it could absolutely, like there is an argument that it could be in the comms strategy. However, it's explicit in this creative arts strategy that there will be a digital-only promotion strategy for the arts. And I believe that the communications around notice boards are best suited to serving the arts community, and that's why I want to see it in here rather than delay it for the comms and engagement strategy.
Councillor Russell?
I would like to say I think that this is wonderful how we're working together to develop something on the floor. This is a really good process. You know, Ms Coverdale has come to us today, and actually I do know she's been working on this for years, and I do know that the community have been crying out for the reinstatement of this particular really simple email template, you know, black and white, just all there in one go. And it's just been lovely to work with all of you on getting this, you know, something workable. So, and also we've been able to raise a couple of issues that might not have been considered initially about the fact that this can get more bums on seats in council facilities and, you know, good for Barrel Memorial Hall, good for our little village halls. So I'm really glad that we're providing an opportunity of exploring exactly how this can be done within council to support our amazing arts community. And just look at those stats, 89 events in a fortnight across arts, theatre, music. You know, we're punching well above our weight. The least we can do is pull together a black and white email.
Councillor Smith?
Could I ask a question through the GM of the manager? Do you have any concerns about the wording of this proposed amendment?
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director.
I'll take that question, give Kath a break. Thank you, councillors, and the collaboration in the room is appreciated, so I echo that sentiment. I would like to say that whilst the intent is fantastic, there's no reason why these couple of actions can't be just incorporated into the final strategy and adopted tonight. So that's a suggestion, rather than bring a report back and then we can put this one to bed and move on with the rest of the agenda.
Okay. In hearing that, Councillor Champion, are you happy with what you've got, or would you like to make a further change?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just check in with Councillor Kent, given this was his suggestion. I'd be happy to revert back to including those two clauses as amendments to the strategy.
Okay, great. Okay, would anyone else like to speak to this? Okay, I'll just finish up the... Do you want to just finish typing it before I keep going? Okay. Look, I'd just like to say, I don't know much about the arts and culture world. I just want to reiterate that even the smallest things build up, and it is a resource-heavy thing. So I think I'll often reiterate that when we are moving these things, if things are being bumped or we're not able to do it, or we just can't, I guess, be annoyed or critical of us not delivering other things at the end of the year or when we come up to our quarterlies. So, yeah. Councillor Champion.
A question for you, Mr Mayor, just off the back of what you just said. Are you concerned that the current proposed amendment is resource intensive? Because it was intended to
Look, I mean, look, it's
external.
not overly. It's just sort of a precedent type thing. I mean, including a combined digital paper notice board promotion strategy, someone will have to sit down for potentially 5-6 hours and create that. Explore grant funding, someone will have to physically do that on a computer. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, an expense. I'm just saying it is another expense, another burden on top of what they've designed. But at the end of the day, look, yeah, I'm not sort of screaming from the mountaintops that it's a big amount of money. Just a nod to the fact that something potentially could be bumped, and a combination of these things could end in delivery. It's more just a passing comment. So, yeah. Okay, I'll stop talking. With that, I'll now put the motion. Put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Champion, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against? Councillor Farrell. That is carried. This becomes the motion. Would anyone else like to speak back to that original motion? Great. Did you move? Did you move? Who moved it? Sorry. Smith. Okay, would you like to speak back to this? Okay, with that, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour, and that is carried unanimously. Okay, next we have bringing forward the nom for, that's the nom, yep. So we're bringing for Councillor Moylan's nom, item 10.29, 2025. Councillor, would you like to move your nom? And could I get a seconder for this? Councillor Foley, Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to, so this is not part of my time, tabled two documents. The first one is a letter, or an email rather, from Ms Kelly Hunter, which I've sent to all councillors. And the second one is a few documents from Mr Wayne Pratt, who we heard in the public forum, and that is evidence that these three courses do exist, and they have been existing at Moss Vale TAFE for some time, and also that the courses were cancelled.
Thank you. Okay, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As we have just heard by the very good public speakers, TAFE has a very special role in our community. It provides an alternative pathway to those students who, for whatever reason, haven't been able to follow the traditional pathway. Moss Vale TAFE in particular has leading teachers, and we've heard from a teacher today, and they have achieved outstanding results. But more importantly, TAFE and the philosophy of TAFE is to provide free education to those people who, for whatever their personal or financial circumstances that they find themselves in, have not been able to follow a traditional pathway. Now, the HSC courses that the certificates 2, 3 and 4 are about are time-bound. We all know that the HSC exam does not move for anyone. The deadline is the deadline, and so that's why I've brought this norm. Because 3 days before the start of term 3, the students, as we just heard, got a cancellation letter. Absolutely devastating to those students and their families and the teachers. And they got offered the anti-intuitive option of driving to Goulburn or Campbelltown to be able to continue their education. Now, there's an exam coming, so this is not any old education, it's time-bound. Wendy Tuckerman MP and the parent advocacy group and the students all banded together to write to the minister and do whatever they could to reinstate this decision. What we got was a Band-Aid solution. So I worked with Wendy and the parent group behind the scenes. What we got was a blended delivery program, which, as we've heard, is just not sufficient. It's partly, the hours have been reduced. It's now partly online, partly face-to-face. It just isn't sufficient. And what we've got now is disengaged students. We've actually got some students who weren't invited back onto the TAFE premises. So there are 5 students right now who are sitting at home, may I add, without internet, without a laptop, and are not able to be educated for their HSC exam. So they will not only reach their potential, but they are completely disengaged. So this is beyond reproach, this decision. Now, I will point out that I have put out a request to business owners, and I'm very proud to say that a lot of business owners in this community have come forward and offered office space for those students to be able to continue their education and meet their HSC requirements. May I ask for an extension of time,
We have a
Mr. Mayor?
procedure motion for a further minute. Councillor Russell, all those in favour? Councillor Champion, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Carried. Another minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I do appreciate it. So the notice of motion you have before you, councillors, is to for this council to write to the minister, Mr. Stephen Wan, to urge him to restitute this decision. What I want is not just the courses to come back, I want all the teachers to come back. I want all the students to be able to come back to TAFE and finish their studies in preparation for the exam, which is a deadline which won't move. I also want to write a letter to the member for Goulburn, Wendy Tuckerman, who's done an outstanding job in putting a focus on this, and I know that she is also taking it to Parliament. And I urge you to please consider this, as well as throughout your network, any solution that you can provide to help these students who are really being pushed back down. So let's take a community approach. It's a state issue, but it's a community impact, and pull together and get behind this one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Kent.
I'd like to particularly thank Wayne and Jonathan, who spoke in the public forum about this. I have been in touch with the ministers, or through staff members in touch with the minister's office. I not mean the council staff members, I mean minister's office within Labor. The primary thing coming back to me is the low numbers. So when Councillor Moylan seeks us to write to reinstate in full, face-to-face teaching, for six students, as been explained to me, I expect a response that will be quite intricate. Anyway, I've heard both Wayne and Jonathan's representations. I'm very sympathetic to the students. I support contacting the minister, but we will get some feedback about the lack of numbers, and perhaps we can put something more positive into this and seek to work with the department to increase the numbers here in Moss Vale. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. We heard during the public forum that this is potentially a broader issue than just the Highlands. Through the Mayor, I'm not, and then perhaps through the GM, I'm not sure who I'm asking this question of. Do we have any sense of, is that the case? Is it? And how, if not, how could we find out?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, no, we're not across, it's a state institution, we're not across that detail. However, we have networks that within local government, whether that be through the Canberra Region Joint Organisation, country mayors, and I would suggest they would be the two key organisations, as well as local government New South Wales. So we can certainly put a call out which through our networks and seek some feedback about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, I can assist Councillor Smith with an answer to that question.
That's okay. You'd have to be asked that question. I'm sorry, Councillor. Did you want to ask the question? Okay.
I'm happy to.
What was your question, or are you good?
No, I'm happy to ask the question again. Do you want me to repeat it, or?
Through you, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Smith. I have heard anecdotally that this is a regional issue, and part of the Band-Aid solution that was provided was for a teacher from Goulburn TAFE to be moved to Moss Vale TAFE as a temporary solution, which is just moving the problem somewhere else to Goulburn. And I've also heard, again anecdotally, that there is some changes happening to the South Coast TAFE. Yes, so it is a regional issue.
Okay, thank you.
And
what else, Councillor Smith?
just to clarify, when you say regional, do you mean as in Moss Vale or as in regional New South Wales? Do you know?
Through you, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Smith, regional New South Wales, so South Coast, Goulburn, Moss Vale.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Russell.
I have an amendment I've just sent through to governance.
Okay. We might have a break while that's happening. I move a procedural motion to have a 5-minute adjournment. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We were at an amendment from Councillor Russell, and that is in front of us right now, I believe. Declaration. Okay, Councillor Moylan, do you accept the change? Amendment?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The reason I'm not going to support this amendment, as much as I appreciate Councillor Russell's consideration, I would rather go with the strong strategy, which is simply to restitute these courses. But also, I'm not familiar with the Melbourne Declaration
That's
for
okay.
Young People, and I also don't want to just refer to the results. This is a much more contextual issue than just the results. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor, you'll need a seconder. Could I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Foley. Councillor Russell.
I would like to thank the speakers at the forum and everyone who's put all of that work into making sure that our young people's lives are turned around through education. I've chosen to put forward this amendment because I think that there's been an oversight, quite simply. I am not here to say that this was I think that there's been an oversight in the system, and it's a request to the Minister to look at this in a little more detail, look at the context of this. There's very little likelihood that he would have had the time to see the amazing results that come from this course and how the students' lives have been turned around by its existence. And it's when we're drawn to those real-life case studies that things can fundamentally sometimes change. When we hear people's stories directly, we know the power of that. The Melbourne Declaration for Young People is a document we routinely refer to in education as our vision statement, our North Star goal for all young people. And the people who come to this course have fallen through the gaps of our school system. Yet that should not mean that a declaration that we use to underpin the prosperity, the social outcomes for all in our nation, it should apply to these people too, which speaks to the importance of this course. So I wanted to frame it positively, like this was an oversight, and that we can all just work together to put it right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Okay, I now put the motion, the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Foley, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Champion, Councillor Russell. You guys are going to, and then against, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick, and I'm sorry, Councillor Kent, you're abstaining, which is against, which is going to make me use my casting vote, aren't you? Is that correct? Governance? Yes? Okay, I will cast against. So we go back to the original motion by Councillor Moylan. Would anyone else like to speak to that? Okay, Councillor Foley.
Just briefly, I'd like to recognise the important role that TAFE plays in providing for those students that might otherwise fall through the gaps. And so having an alternative pathway for students to complete their studies, which makes such a big difference in young people's lives. So yeah, very supportive of encouraging education in the Highlands.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Russell.
I would like to thank Councillor Moylan for her advocacy on that and insight and foresight to put this together and allow the stories of people whose lives have been directly affected by this to be heard, and that they may be published louder and that voice be heard by the Minister too in all of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Whilst I'm very supportive of the students' needs, and I've had more discussions during the break with the member of the public gallery, I won't be supporting a motion which says restore full teaching face-to-face, given the numbers. So, I'm just putting my point of view. I'm not against the students' needs. I just won't be supporting that aspect. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this? Great. With that, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. Oh, You want to do a right of reply? Hope I'm not back in that, missing the right.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for all those who contributed to the debate. I take on Councillor Kent's point. I would like to add, however, that I have seen a letter from Minister Wan and can see that there is definitely a communication breakdown here because Minister Wan refers to the numbers that I understand are incorrect. And he also refers to the blended delivery program and how fortunate we are to have this when it actually, as we've just heard, isn't fulfilling its promise. But Minister Wan also in his letter refers to 12 hours for each student, which is not the case. And we've got ample evidence to prove that point. Councillor Russell is absolutely correct. There has been an oversight, and I don't think the amendment actually does that oversight justice. I think this letter and further advocacy will enable a conversation with the Minister, hopefully, so that he can see where he's not getting the right information. I also would like to take on board Councillor Smith's point about the regional issue. It is a regional issue, however, we're councillors for this community, so that's why I'm wanting to make sure that we put our best foot forward for our community that we're advocating for. So with that, thank you very much for the debate, and I look forward to, with all of you, solving this problem so that we can get all the teachers back, all the students back, and actually look forward to an increase in enrolments next year.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll now put the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Champion, Councillor Barrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against, and I note that Councillor Kent abstained. That is carried. Okay, back to 9.1, organisational restructure. Could I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Smith. Would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could I just get a clarification? I haven't had a chance to read the emails, but the strategic outcomes team, is that different to the economic development team?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the economic development function sits within the strategic outcomes branch, so it's a subset. Got it.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a comment. I support most of this organisational structure. I think the economic development team sitting in the Director of Communities and Place team aligns well with development assessments supporting local businesses, and that's a key priority for myself, but also the region. Secondly, the placemaking move to the Director of Communities and Place speaks for itself. That's a really nice fit. I do, however, Mr Mayor, see an opportunity for the asset management team and also the wastewater team, wastewater and sewerage team. Sorry, I've misread that, but the wastewater team that's currently sitting in the Director of Service and Project Delivery to have a closer alignment with the Director of Communities and Place team for the DA assessment piece. And for that reason, I have an amendment I'm going to propose.
Sorry, Councillor, I'll just defer to governance, just in accordance with this Act about... do we have the ability to amend and change the org structure in this meeting? Okay. No. General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, as outlined on page 7 of the business paper, ultimately the structure rests with the General Manager. The council allocate dollars, like budget, as an amount, but it's clearly stated within the Act that the actual structure itself sits within the General Manager's purview.
Councillor Moylan, Is that understandable? Or?
Yes, I do understand it completely. Thank you. If I could forge ahead with my amendment, you'll see that it's not actually a real change, but I would like to speak to that amendment, please.
Okay, if I get the words of the amendment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, keeping the first piece of the amendment and then adding a second one, so perhaps we can make, after that, we can make that one in accordance with etc. Thank you. And then second paragraph, number 2. The revised organisational structure include between the asset management and water and wastewater services teams an indirect reporting line with the Director of Communities and Place to foster greater efficiencies and alignment. And I reserve my right to speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
Look, Councillor, as we've said, it can't be changed through this amendment. However, I'll let the council speak or vote that way. I would need a seconder for this first. Okay, that has lapsed. We'll go back to the original amendment. Sorry, the original motion. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Okay. Okay, with that, I will now put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 9.5. Housekeeping planning proposal, Wingecarribba Local Environment Plan. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Kent. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Foley. Councillor Kent.
Primarily, I have a question to the General Manager through you, Mr. Mayor. In this item, sorry, things are moving fast. Where is it? Here it is. In the introduction to the report, it states, the report also considers the merit of removing group homes as permitted with consent from the R5 large lot residential zone. I'd just like to ask the background to this consideration. Thanks.
Yep.
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the Director, Communities in Place, thank you.
Through you, General Manager, the consideration of the group home in R5 is part of the report simply because staff gave that commitment at the time that state members were making representations to council to consider it as in an LEP amendment, which we have. We committed to doing that in the next housekeeping amendment, which is before you tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Have I understood correctly, and this through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director of Communities in Place, have I understood correctly that if this change goes ahead, removing group homes out of the zoning, that the issue that was brought to the planning panel some time ago regarding Phillip Street, Burradoo, we wouldn't have that issue? Have I understood that correctly?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. McCabe.
Through you, General Manager, there is no recommendation to make any change to the R5 zone in this report, nor group homes. So the complying development for Phillip Street would transpire as the private certifier has planned. And even if you did change it for a planning proposal, which takes months and months and months, that would still go ahead because of it being lodged back when controls are in place. And even if you did progress a planning proposal, the housing set would prevail because dwelling homes are permitted in R5. So the planning proposal would be unproductive and a waste of resources.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to speak to this? With that, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. 9.6, various properties, Range Road, Glen Quarry, acquisition of land. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Moylan, a seconder. Councillor Smith, Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got some questions. So through you, Mr Mayor, to the appropriate officer, this project commenced in June 2023, so 2 years ago. Why is it now in poor condition? Is this the same project that was along Range Road in the pictures, in the attachments?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the matter before you is around land acquisition. That's the question. The Manager, Business and Property, would you like to just explain why we're looking to purchase the land?
Thank you. Through you, General Manager. The land acquisition was approved by council previously. So when they were scoping the road, basically the road did some bends and stuff. So what they needed to do was widen the road a little bit more. So they had to acquire small parcels of land to make the road able to be widened. And that was approved by council. So this is more of a formality because they're at the process of finalising all the paperwork side of things.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Moylan?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So in the document, it refers to the reason being because a section of the road that is going to be acquired is in poor condition. So it's not because it's in poor condition, have I understood that? Or
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll ask the Director, Service and Project Delivery to explain the road and why we need the extra land that is before you tonight in terms of purchase. Thank you, Mr McAllister.
Through you, General Manager. There's a number of things that we need to consider with this, and it incorporates both the general maintenance requirements to actually protect the road, predominantly being the drainage along the sides of the road to actually protect what is there, and also capital works and improvements. Now, the first of that is some resealing works that is due to commence in this current financial year.
Councillor Moylan.
thank you very much. And through you, Mr Mayor, to the appropriate officer, what's the total cost? I can't see that in the documents here, the total cost of what we're looking to make an adjustment for.
General Manager.
Through Mr Mayor, the questions come via the General Manager, Councillor, but in relation to the cost, if on page, sorry, bear with me, 25, under the section Council Budget Implications, there's the amount for one of the old Wingelow Lane, Bundanoon. The Director may wish to add to that. Thank you, Mr McAllister.
Thank you, General Manager. I will need to take that on notice because I don't actually have the financial information for that project, being Church Lane, on hand at the moment.
Thank you, Mr McAllister. The CFO does. Thank you, Mr Kuzmanowski.
Apologies. It looks like it wasn't included in the report. It is the allocated amount of $50,000.
Councillor Moylan.
Okay, and thank you very much to the officer and the General Manager. And through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, is that $50,000, is that enough to acquire the 9 lots that's in this report?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I believe the Director will answer this one. Thank you.
Through you, General Manager, worth going through everybody tonight. Councillor Moylan, yes, that is enough, sufficient funds to acquire the land.
Okay. Councillor Moylan, anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you very much.
Anyone else like to speak to this? Okay, with that, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Look, just procedurally, I know I'm nitpicky. Just always go through the General Manager, through me to the General Manager for questions, and the General Manager will choose the Director. Thanks. 9.7, Part 392 and 477 Belmore Falls Road, Robertson, acquisition of land. Could I have a move for this, please? Councillor Foley, a seconder. Councillor Moylan, Councillor Foley. Anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Some questions. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. Is acquisition the only option here? And are there other options that are available to the landowner to be able to redirect the road?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll ask the Director, Ms Jones, to respond to that. Thank you.
Councillor Moylan, you'll note in the report, this one's a bit long in the tooth as well. So there's already a resolution to acquire, so it's not really up for re-prosecution. And the project is scoped, ready to go. So I guess the short answer is no, not in this case.
Thank you. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, I note that there's a budget adjustment of $40,000 that has been is expected to come up in the next quarterly review. Where's that funding coming from, please?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, as stated in the report, under the council budget implications, it states that it'll be funded from the Property Development Reserve. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
I just have one question. The spelling of Belmore Falls Road, I think that's a typo. I just thought because it's such an important thing. Is that?
We'll double check. Thank you, Councillor.
We'll fix that up. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
I just want to express gratitude for all Councillor Moylan's questions that enabled Councillor Smith to pick up on that typo.
Thank you. With that, Councillor Foley, want your right of reply. Actually, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 9.8, supply and delivery of bulk materials tender evaluation report. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Moylan. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Foley. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A couple of questions again. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. Did we have this many suppliers on the panel for this category previously, or is this an increase?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'm not sure if the CFO will have that information at hand, but we can certainly take it on notice and come back to you.
Okay. Anything further? Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. I notice that there's some suppliers on the panel that are outside the Wingecarribee. Is there an additional cost incurred for their travel into the Wingecarribee?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll ask the CFO to talk to that, but just as a general principle, when we do tenders are weighted, and you'll see the weighting set out in the report. So there may or may not be an increased cost, but in terms of the overall tender evaluation, the non-cost and the cost criteria and the associated weightings, that's balanced up as part of the assessment. But Mr Kuzmanowski, could you please add to that?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. I believe there are unit price rates set with the panels, so I believe they incorporate those into their unit prices. So depending on I guess the type of activity or the type of service that they are providing, it would be incorporated into that there. With my high-level review of it, I didn't see anything called out specifically in that process, but generally when we see these types of things come through in panels, they are incorporated into the unit rates.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay. Anyone will speak to this? Okay. With that, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 9.9, Communities Engagement Strategy, draft for public exhibition. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Champion. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Russell. Councillor Champion.
I'd like to propose an amendment, please, or move this with a change, whichever you prefer, I guess.
Will it be moved with a change? And I shouldn't have collected a seconder, so...
Oh, sorry.
That's my
I don't mind either way.
No, move with a change. What are your changes?
Okay, I'd like to, sorry, if I can just look at I'd like to change the period of exhibition to 44 days, please, instead of 28.
Okay.
Thank you. And just to speak...
Sorry, and I'll just get a seconder for this.
sorry.
Councillor Russell. Councillor...
Thank you. The reason why I wanted to place this on exhibition for slightly longer is because of just how incredibly important it is. And because I think if we are going to really focus, sorry, let me start again. Communication and engagement has been a #1 priority for all of us since we stepped in that door. It was something that we all agreed on right from the very get-go, all of the elected councillors, that re-establishing trust and connection and collaboration with the community was going to be absolutely at the forefront of everything we do for the 4 years that we are sitting in this chamber and doing work with the community. And I think it's really exciting to see this strategy come down and for us to have the opportunity to talk about that with the community. So I think it's really critical that we take the time to discuss this with community members and really want to talk to people about what they want to see and how we can do it better. If there's a policy that needs discussion with the community, it's the one that they're the biggest experts on. It's the one where they know what they need to see, and that's how they're going to be engaged. The council staff have already done a huge amount of work on pulling this together, and I'm really grateful for that. And I think now it's time for our turn as councillors to show up for our part of the work and to get out there and check in with people and test the ideas.
Okay, thank you. I'll speak before. Whilst I respectfully disagree with you, I think 28 days is more than enough. I acknowledge your passion and the fact that it is a communications engagement strategy, so I'll support the change that you've made. But I personally wouldn't be making it a regular habit for other things. I just believe 28 days is enough, but out of respect for your passion and what you want to do here, I'll support it. So would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
Firstly, thank you to the staff for putting this together, particularly the way, I really liked the way the report explained a lot of creative concepts and concepts that are difficult to get across. And I also greatly appreciate the facilitated workshop that we had around engagement and communication. It was thoroughly interesting and really well put together. I have a question, Mr Mayor, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. What's the split between traditional and non-traditional media commitment in the media policy?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, are you talking usage or budget, Councillor?
Both, thank you.
I'll ask the Manager, Community Life and Libraries, if she's able to answer off the top of her head. If not, we may take that on notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, General Manager. Can I just confirm, Councillor Moylan, are you referring to the strategy or the media policy? Sorry.
Councillor
Moylan. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the officer, the media policy and the strategy. I just want to understand what the financial commitment and usage commitment for those two traditional and non-traditional media.
General Manager.
Thank you. We'll take that on notice, councillor.
Okay, anything further, councillor?
Yes, I'd like to propose an amendment, please.
Get the words to that.
So point 3, so we keep, yes, point 3, we make it endorse the and take out adopt the. And then after attachment 2, remove the full stop, please, to be placed on public exhibition for a period of 28 days. Thank you. And then leave point 4 and then add point 5. Provide media and social media training to each councillor in one-on-one sessions in the next 2 months. Then point 6, thank you, include a commitment to engagement and advertising funding to local traditional media in the media policy. And then point 7, thank you, remove references to the IPC in the current FAQs and other council communications on the council website or verbally when it gives rise to the reader or listener having the impression that the IPC is defending the case on behalf of council the re-poly litigation. And I reserve my right to speak to the amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Could I get a seconder for this? Councillor Russell, Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I'm really impressed by this whole report. I particularly like on page 88 to 108 the table of the measures of success that shows a great earnest effort to make the best of this. In terms of the training, I really do feel that councillors need to confidently share their opinions, their personal opinions, and also the reasons why they have voted on social media and media. And I think this training will give us this confidence. Now, nextly, referring to misinformation in the strategy and the social media policy, on page 82, when it comes to misinformation, I can see it says, we will explain decisions openly, even when they're complex or unpopular. It's good communication does not avoid difficult conversations, it enables them. And then on page 83, being proactive, factual and consistent, especially when community confidence is low or misinformation is high. Mr. Mayor, regarding misinformation on the FAQs, we currently have out there in the community this following quote: IPC is already presenting the full case against the development. Joining as a second respondent would not have added new arguments or strengthened the case. If this is, we cannot substantiate this, We've also received a letter from the IPC, which clearly, and they've taken the extraordinary step to clearly put to us that the IPC is independent in the Repoly litigation, that they cannot take instruction from council, and it also says that they will be running their own case. So any misinformation that I currently see in the FAQs to lead the reader to understand that the IPC will be running our case leads us to an exposure of significant risk. We must be very clear in our communication to the community that council are separate from IPC. The IPC will be running their own case. And this is very important, particularly because of this matter and particularly because of the focus on it. We must make sure that all of our information is 100% correct, particularly when it is regarding litigation. Now, further to that, at the directions hearing of the case on Monday, the Land and Environment Court reprimanded the IPC for also publishing misinformation.
We're taking flight way away from the subject matter.
Mr. Mayor, I cavil with that. This policy spends a lot of time on misinformation. And when it's regarding litigation, and we have, in my opinion, misinformation right now in the FAQs, it is wholly relevant. And this is very important that we protect this council from any potential claims regarding this continued misinformation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Russell.
At this point, I need to declare a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in this matter as a respondent to the proceedings, and I will fill in the paperwork afterwards. And because it is a matter of such community significance, and I have voted on this matter before as a spokesperson, I am going to remain and stay. Okay. And I'll speak to Councillor Moylan's amendment.
Are you absolutely positive with that conflict that you want to say, Councillor?
I have a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in this matter. Yes, so I'll remain. Yes, okay. That's right.
Okay, go.
And I should emphasise in that within that declaration of conflict, I have received completely pro bono legal support for the campaign. Well, yes, actually, within the conflict, it actually asks that I clarify why I don't have that non-pecuniary.
You have the floor to speak to the
thank you.
Amendment.
I am supporting Councillor Moylan's amendment here. I mean, this is reflective practice. Sometimes we just need to, and I do it all the time. You know, if I'm finding that something's irritating me, I go, well, why is that irritating? And I look to myself first to see what improvements I need to make in myself. By admitting that we make mistakes, sometimes in how we're communicating, we're actually demonstrating that we are growing in our journey. You know, what can we say? We're all perfect, but we have a flaw. You know, we are, and it might be multifaceted, but at least by acknowledging that and working through it, we can grow, not just as individuals, but as a council and as a culture, we can grow in that reflective practice. So I would like to see that we consider and adopt that. I would like to see that we do improve, each and every one of us, in our confidence in how we engage with the media and social media. It's out there be dragons, you know, it's not a safe world with the media, and we can only improve in our communications individually to our community through one-on-one training. And that's what it's all about. It's about us taking that personal responsibility in our role as ambassadors, because we are ambassadors for culture, for council in this. So I would like to commend Councillor Moylan on her very thoughtful and well-researched amendment, that we improve and grow and walk the talk, that we are actually in that cultural shift and cultural change. And I would like to thank all of the staff who I know did the deep dive into looking at how we could really bring our communications into the 21st century and the here and now in the more agile way that people interact with communications and media. This is a huge growth curve, I know. Mayor, now I have finished speaking, I would like to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, I noted in the previous communications strategies there were quite clear timelines for communicating on different matters, and those timelines seem to have all been removed from this. When one of the intentions behind putting this back to councils that we could amalgamate them was that there was a really clear line in comms between the what, the how, the who, the when. Is there a policy that's going to, this is a strategy, it's a vision statement, is there a policy that's going to come to council that actually does that really clear anxiety diminishing, we know how we're going to be communicated with on this matter of concern to us and when and the timelines?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, before we get to that, just thank you, Councillor Moylan, and we'll recheck the wording and make sure that it actually is beyond misinterpretation. So I appreciate you raising that, and I'm sure the team will go back and make sure that's abundantly clear. In terms of timelines and details, it is a strategy, and we've done a lot of work as an organisation to differentiate between strategy and plans. I'll ask the Director perhaps to talk about the high-level strategy which is before you, and then how that will roll out on a very tactical level. I should just note before I ask the Director to respond to that, the social media policy is actually the Office of Local Government's model media policy, not a council-created policy. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Russell, just a point of clarification, please. Just in relation to the document or the part of the former strategy that you were referring to, very specific timelines around when people find out which things, are you referring to the community participation plan around notifications, etc., which it does have mandated timelines in that particular plan? And if that's the case, it's not ready yet. So it's being formulated in response to the work that's been done in my colleague's directorate with the expert planner, and it's coming to the chamber separately. And I think that may alleviate some of those concerns when that document lands. But in terms of strategy and then plans, they're sitting underneath, this is the top level of the communications and engagements ecosystem, if you like. And sitting under that, there will be tactical plans that will detail, and some of them you won't see, to be fair, because they're very operational and tactical for a reason, but they will detail service levels, if you like. And that service level conversation is another conversation that we'll get into around how that interacts with customer experience charter, etc., where people can expect to hear from people within a certain time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the Director of Corporate Strategy and Resourcing. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, is it possible that that Office of Local Government policies be used as templates for improvement? Are they binding, or is there the capacity to work on and improve it for Wingecarribee?
General Manager.
Director, Ms Jones, thank you.
The Office of Local Government model policies in this regard are considered better practice, and they are recommended as a standard level, I suppose, for all councils. In saying that, there are provisions that aren't considered, so we can't change the mandatory provisions. They're set in stone, and there are provisions that we can select from. And so in this policy, you will see that we've selected a certain way forward, an option of two. Now, for example, one was In smaller councils, for example, comms is run through the general manager because there is no comms team, whereas in our model, we've chosen the centralised communications channel. So there are options where we have flexibility, but not a lot, which is actually why we actually recommended that we don't put it on public exhibition, because it's actually a little disingenuous. There's not a lot we can get from the community to change them, to be fair.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
I have a few questions, if I can. The first one, through you, Mr Mayor, if possible, to Councillor Moylan. Point 5, providing one-on-one training. Where is the budget coming from for that?
Councillor Moylan.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Smith. I noticed in reading the report that it referred to the induction training. So we had some induction training on media policy and social media policy. But I have also read a reference to a refresher training. So I'm assuming that because it's already there, that it has actually already been factored into the budget.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Smith? Councillor Smith.
Also, another question through you, Mr Mayor, also of Councillor Moylan. There's a very specific mention here of traditional media. Our traditional media, in my understanding, is very limited. So is Councillor Moylan saying Southern Highlands News, Win News, 2ST? There's also ABC Illawarra, but they do not take advertising. Is that her definition of traditional media?
Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you to Councillor Smith, thank you very much for the question. I philosophically believe that we need to have a balanced mix between social media and traditional media. Traditional media has a lot of accountability embedded in it. Social media, we all know, has a lot of fake profiles, and it's not always easy to hold people accountable. In answer to the question directly, local traditional media is something that I want to nurture and encourage. The Southern Highlands News is syndicated, so it's local, but it still is syndicated. Nevertheless, it has a lot of local content and is traditional, so yes to that one. And to 2ST radio program, yes to that one, but also Highlands FM. Highlands FM are really struggling right now. They've had a lot of their funding taken away from them. So I would add in Highlands FM and any other local traditional media that I haven't listed there.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, have we already budgeted, or would we ordinarily, in the scheme of things, do some funding of advertising in the traditional media already in the budget?
General Manager.
I'll actually refer this one to the Director, Corporate Strategy and Resourcing, because budget also follows strategy. Thank you, Ms Jones.
So there is an advertising budget. It's not specific. It's not down to that line item detail about how much it goes to this person, that person, whatever. It's about supporting the greater promotional effort of council on a case-by-case basis, but also in concert with the strategic direction.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. So this wouldn't be inconsistent in any way with what we've already got the capacity to do?
General Manager.
Sorry, Councillor, would you mind, so we're talking in relation to point 6, the commitment to engage and advertise funding to local traditional media and the media policy, is that what
That's correct. I just, thank you, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. That's what I believed that the Director was saying, that we already have that capacity. So it's just confirming that capacity in the policy.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we choose the channel for the purpose and the outcome we're looking for, Councillor.
Okay, thank you. Would else like to speak to this amendment? Okay, Councillor Smith.
I'm actually deeply concerned by point 7 in this amendment. We're talking about strategy here, and frankly, it feels like a very a move to shoehorn something in. I think there's different channels to do that if there's a concern with something in an FAQ. And so I feel really concerned that we're trying to bring up issues and draw attention to things in the wrong way. So I feel very strongly against these amendments.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just address a misunderstanding and misrepresentation.
Councillor Moylan.
Thank you very much. So point 7 refers to misinformation, which one is, as we all know, very serious at any time, but secondly, brings with it legal consequences and costs to council if there were a claim made. So it is wholly relevant, but also misinformation, that word, and on pages 82, 83, and throughout the document, plays a big part of the strategy and the social media and the media training, media policy. So it's wholly relevant, and I really reiterate that the reason I am raising this is not to agitate, it is to protect council, and I thank the General Manager for her acknowledgement on that point.
Thank you very much. Okay, would else like to speak to this? Councillor Kent.
I'd just like to speak against this amendment. I'll just go through them in order. So the point 3, putting the social media policy out for public exhibition. We've heard from the relevant council officer that it's a model code and policy, and I'm not that in mind to open it up to a whole lot of debate. It's already a contentious issue, and I have confidence in the guidance of the Office of Local Government. In terms of point 5, I don't personally feel the need to have media and social media training provided to me. I think we covered that in the induction very well. And then point 6, we're talking here about a draft communications and engagement strategy, and I think this issue of committing in a strategy document to funding local media came up earlier or late last year, and I think it was in regard to the community engagement strategy. We can go back and look at the tape of that, but I don't think a strategy document is a place for making these commitments. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Mayor, I have been misunderstood, misrepresented. May I speak to that?
You can speak to misrepresentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the reason I have suggested that we place the social media policy on exhibition, and I'm open to suggestions on this, is throughout the policy there's a lot of bullet points where there should be sections referred to. So in particular, section 7.3.2 E and F are bullet points. So that makes it impossible or very difficult to apply. So again, this is not about a matter of confidence in our officers, it's more a matter of protection. We can't enforce a policy if we can't apply it.
Thank you. Okay, would else like to speak to this? Okay, I'll now put this amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, those against, Councillor Fitzpatrick, Councillor Champion, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith. Oh, sorry. We are now back at the original motion with a change from Councillor Champion. Would else like to speak to that? Okay, with that, I will now put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. We might have a 5-minute break. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, we reconvene at 5:48. Next, we have 9.10, update incoming sponsorship and donation policy for public exhibition. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Foley, a seconder. Councillor Smith. Councillor Foley. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to table an email that I believe has been put on everybody's desk of the 20th of August, 3:14 p.m, with the title, The Urgent Plastics Appeal. And also a letter from a Mr Peter Short to the General Manager on the 20th of August. And also table an email on the 20th of August at 1:01 p.m. from a Danielle Le Breton with the subject, the Windsor Caribbee.
Councillor, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I just want to make sure all that has got through to everybody. Okay.
Councillor Smith.
If these things are relating to re-poly, is that issues with conflicts of interest in councillors?
Mr Mayor, I think I've been misunderstood and misrepresented. These letters are regarding donations and we're talking about the donation policy.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, a couple of questions. Has Council or the Mayor so through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager and yourself, Mr Mayor, have you actually spoken in a meeting setting with Mr Onisferu about his donation offers?
I have spoke to Mr Onisferu this afternoon and not in a meeting setting, no.
Okay, and through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager and to you, Mr Mayor, have council staff or the Mayor made any inquiries as to who the people are that make up Mr Onisferu's offer of a donation for the re-poly litigation?
No, Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr Mayor, I've got a couple of comments here and I want to be clear that
Sorry, Councillor, have you got questions? Or are you speaking to it?
No, now I'm talking to it. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I want to be clear that I am not seeking to agitate what is a very important issue to our community, being the litigation with re-poly. What I'm talking to in this motion and its relevance to the donation policy goes to procedural fairness, also leadership and strong communication. We have had, and we all know, various communications from Mr Onisferu, both in public forum today as well as on the email. It's very important to always provide procedural fairness to any member of our community. And this donation policy actually refers on point 141 that all donations will be assessed using a consistent set of criteria. Again, on that page, that there will be no preferential treatment, meaning partiality, which can go both ways, for and against. And there's also procedural fairness in terms of registering any donations on the donors and sponsors register on page 143. It's more relevant ever than now, Mr Mayor, that we enhance the trust in our community. It needs to be said that we have lost a lot of trust in the community right now and confidence is low. We must do everything we can to make sure that we are dealing and assessing any donations policy according to the current policy and the new policies once it's adopted, so that we are seen to be treating every community member equally and applying the policy equally to everybody. And I think if we're confident with the policy, then we can communicate strongly to that. And that's why I suggested that we actually have a meeting with Mr. Onisferu so that we can scrutinise his offer, and he's made another one today, and back ourselves and the policy, and then give a very clear, full and frank communication back. Or potentially we might even find that we can find a solution. This donation that Mr. Onisferu has put forward is made up of the majority of non-developers, and it's for litigation. It's not for a development. And today he just made another offer for a donation to the art gallery. So all of these offers need to be given due consideration, and then we can show the community that we are working with a community member who's highly valued, as they are all. And may I ask for an
Councillor.
extension of time, Mr. Mayor?
We have a procedural motion for an extension. A seconder. Councillor Russell. All those in favour? All those against? Sorry, that's been denied. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Moylan. Councillor Smith, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Councillor Moylan mentioned that Mr. Onisferu spoke in the public forum, but my understanding was he was not an official speaker. Is that correct?
No. So Mr. Onisferu failed to meet the deadline to register and then insisted on coming in. I can't control a person speaking in a public place, so he took the floor of his own accord and spoke to the people in the room, but he wasn't officially in community forum. So thank you for confirming that. Councillor Smith?
One other question. Councillor Moylan also suggested we should meet with Mr. Onisferu. My understanding is that Mr. Onisferu is a developer, and so as councillors, is that, with the code of conduct, is that appropriate?
Look, for me personally, I think it's deeply inappropriate to meet with property developers, full stop. And council's current position, and then I'll clarify something with the General Manager. Council does not accept financial donations or loans from developers. This is pertaining to Mr. Onisferu. However, the second part of our statement, or anyone in relation to any development application, including state significant applications. So this is not singling out Mr. Onisferu because he's a developer. It also pertains to taking money to litigate or to go into battle, I guess, in whatever way term you want to put it, on development matters, including state significance. This ensures that decision-making remains impartial, transparent, and free from any real or perceived influence. Now, further to this, and I just want to clarify with the General Manager, it is a good time to raise it and talk about donations, and I think the absolute best person to guide us here is ICAC. And this policy, I believe, I'll confirm with General Manager, has been sent to ICAC. So us trying to push further right now when we're going to have the body of ICAC review it, I think that is the absolute perfect process. And General Manager, is that the case?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is. What I would say is what is before you on the business paper tonight is a draft incoming sponsorship and donations policy. So that's what's before the council tonight, seeking your endorsement for the very purpose of good governance, transparency, procedural fairness, and basically people know the rules. You know, that everyone's aware. So there are no misperceptions about any favours or fear being bullied into something or being perceived to be receiving something of benefit. So what is before the council tonight is a policy that the staff have prepared, drawing on other examples, drawing on ICAC learnings from different cases, and you can look up the ICAC website. There's lots of great examples and great learnings. They brought together, the team have brought together a draft policy, and we want to put that out to the community. As part of that, we have referred it to the ICAC. Councillors, you've had a number of sessions with the ICAC. They're very keen to work with us, make sure that we are within the bounds of where we need to be. So the intent tonight is to seek your endorsement to put this out for public exhibition. In the meantime, we expect to hear from the ICAC. And then when we bring the report back to the council, then the council can consider the ICAC's response as well as any community feedback. And you can then make an informed decision. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And I also acknowledge Minister Onisferu's passion and the community members and passion that want us to go down this road. It is a very heavy governance. It is, when I said in the media the other day, it's not so simple, I was criticised for that. It is not so, it is true, it's not so simple. We are an Alt Council and taking money is a very serious business and making sure that goes through a vetting process and we go through ICAC. And we have a community group screaming for funding. So I would just love to see that same energy from Ms Onisferu go to that local group for their funding would be wonderful. So look, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for raising it. With that, would anyone else like to speak to this?
Oh, I have
Councillor
a question, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Kent.
I'd just like to make a comment on something Councillor Moylan said about we've lost community trust. I guess she's speaking for herself. That's not how I see it at all. In the last couple of weeks, I've had many positive bits of feedback about things like the Murrowall Forclay play space, saying it's the best thing the council's done for ages. Other areas don't have parks this good. You know, best interactive park ever. So, you know, I don't want narrative left on the public record by one councillor that we've lost community trust when I simply don't agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
I believe that this is fantastic timing. I think sponsorship and donations and getting very clear on what we can do on that front is incredibly important. We are fortunate enough to have a community who do like to contribute and who do get involved, but we need very strict rules about this. I will remind councillors that the reason we are here is there was an inquiry into our council. Our former council were sacked. We are not here to go anywhere near that sort of territory. And so I'm very grateful to hear that this will be going to ICAC. I think that's the best possible good governance we could have. And we must not be wooed by supposed large amounts of money. That would be going down a very dangerous path for this council. And that is not why I am on council.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, I have been misunderstood and misrepresented by both Councillor Kent and Councillor Smith. May I speak to that?
Okay.
So I want to reiterate that what I'm seeking to achieve is procedural fairness under our own policy for Mr Onisferu and indeed any donors for the Murrowall Playground, for instance, or to the art gallery. I want to make sure that every donor is treated the same and that we don't need to jump to conclusions. All I'm asking is that all of Mr Onisferu's offers, even the one made today, afforded procedural fairness and that he's taken through the process as per the policy. Can I ask a question, Mr Mayor? Can I ask for a commitment that Mr Onisferu will be afforded that procedural fairness with his most recent offer to the art gallery?
As it currently stands, Council's position, irrespective of the other donors that we speak of, is Council does not accept financial donations or loans from developers. So I will not make that commitment and I won't ask the Council to make that commitment.
Is that in, could you, Mr Mayor, pinpoint in the policy where that is, in the one that we're looking at today?
General Manager.
Through Mr Mayor, and I might ask the Director just to explain what's before you and where we're at. Ms Jones.
Councillor Moylan, just in terms of the policy, so there are on page 143, end bullet point, Council will not accept sponsorship or donations from any party where a real or perceived conflict of interest exists, including those associated with land development or planning matters in the Wingecarribee Shire. And then following on from that, the paragraph under that, the General Manager or their delegated director has authority to decline any offer of sponsorship or donation that does not meet the requirements of this policy or is assessed as posing an unacceptable risk. And then on the following page, Council must not seek or accept sponsorships or donations from parties who have an existing development application, rezoning application, planning proposal, or have commenced discussions with Council for an impending development application, rezoning application, planning proposal to be lodged in the coming 12 months, period from the date of donation or offer. Council also retains at the bottom of that section the discretion to reject donations or sponsorship from any entity for any reason. If a donation or a sponsorship offer is rejected, an explanation will be given to the interested party. So I think that provides enough guardrails, safeguards.
Thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Kent.
When I quote Councillor Moylan saying we've lost community trust, I don't believe I've misrepresented anything I was quoting.
Thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Okay. Councillor Farrell.
I don't. Try that again. Councillor Moylan's assertion that we've lost broad public trust, I don't agree with. That's a very broad brushstroke that she's painting there. My take on it from a lot of people that I've spoken to is that they agree with council in the decision that we've made not to be a part of it. We still and have maintained all along that we object to it. We're being painted in the community as being for it by some sections of the community, and that's not the case. And I really take offence at the assertion that council is for this development. I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but I'm really upset with the way that we're being portrayed by some people. And it's not correct. And these people need to pull their heads in and do the right thing and put the case forward that we are not in favour of this development. We're just not prepared to go into a court case that the IPC is fighting.
Okay. I'm sorry, look.
All right, I'm going. Yeah, okay.
We are so
I'm
on another planet from what we should be doing. And I mean, I know everyone's passionate and I know everyone wants to get to it, but.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
I'll shut up.
No, you don't have to shut up. I mean, look, this is what happens when we slip we get to places we shouldn't get to. So with that, I will now put the motion. Sorry, let me catch back up. We're still in the original motion, is that correct? Yes. And who moved that? Councillor Smith, would you like a right of reply?
Sorry.
Councillor Farley, would you like a right of reply?
I would just like to say that I'm supportive of the move for ICAC to have input onto this policy. I think that is the absolute authority when it comes to an issue like this. And so I believe that we should just put this policy out there and see what comes back.
With that, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Okay, item 9.13, Highlands Christmas. Can I have a mover? Councillor Foley, seconder. Councillor Smith. Councillor Foley.
Just to say thank you to the staff for their work on this policy. It's really exciting and I'm really pleased to see that feedback from the community has been taken into account.
Thank you. And I'll speak to this. Councillor Smith.
I reiterate what Councillor Foley said. I think this, just to remind councillors, this was a very contentious issue and it's fantastic to see such a great response. We've been talking about community engagement. I think that the team really took the community engagement on board. They've come up with creative ways. I cannot wait to see how it plays out. So thank you to the team.
Thank you. And I'd like to speak to this. Councillor Moylan.
Yes, I note that the policy refers to partnering with businesses and community organisations, and that future delivery will depend on continued resourcing and stakeholder engagement. I recall this time last year when we were looking at the Christmas funding, that there was some confusion with one of the partners for the Christmas funding. So on that basis, I'd like to propose an amendment, please.
The words of that, please.
Certainly. So, so between the current 1 and 2, if we could put a 2, please. Thank you. With regards to any partnership or sponsorship, council enters into with any business or community organisation for the purposes of the Highlands Christmas 2025 to 2028 policy or strategy. Thank you. Council will ensure that, and then semicolon, Roman numeral 1, appropriate due diligence on the business or community organisation is completed and documented, and colon Roman numeral 2, the partnership and sponsorship arrangement is documented in an appropriate contract and / or document relevant to the level of funding. And I reserve my right to speak to this amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, could I get a seconder for this? Councillor Russell, Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, this amendment seeks to protect council, and we this time last year resolved to give funding to an organisation which was subsequently found to be insolvent. So it's very important that we know exactly who we're giving money to or taking money from when it comes to any spend. But around Christmas time, emotions are heightened, and we don't want dramas with any donors or the like, or businesses or community organisations to come about at Christmas time. So it's important that we understand exactly who we're doing business with, even if it is for Highlands Christmas, and that we have an appropriate contract in place. I've put there, or any document relevant if it's low funding, because we might find that a purchase order or something like that is appropriate. And then get on with a good Christmas.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just reading through. Just General Manager, is this what we do generally, or is there anything added to what we would normally do in this process?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually looking at the draft strategy for where we would be seeking sponsorship. The strategy actually talks about co-design, and we're a collaborator, or grants. So at the moment, I don't believe the strategy at all talks about. I'll let the manager talk to this. She's signalling me, and she's more across it than I am, because she actually wrote it. Before I hand over to the manager, I would say I want to thank the councillors too, because this was one of our strategy sessions where we really wanted to see your vision for Christmas and what the festivities should look like. So to the manager, if you could sing, you wrote it, could you just speak to that? Thank you.
Through you, General Manager, thank you. So it does have in there about seeking sponsorship, and it links to the incoming sponsorship policy and donations. So you may recall, councillors, we talked about that we don't seek sponsorship in terms of our events or programs. So one of the ideas was to look at developing a prospectus to, go for one of the events, etc. So Christmas has been identified. It hasn't gone out yet, but it has been identified. So one of the first actions in there is light up tree for Bowral, and a community event. And some of the other councillors, as part of it, you may recall, we talked about having banners, trying to see if we can get them, with electrification, not electrification like that, but they're electronic. So certainly that's what we'd start to go for. But again, it would align to the policy that will go out on public exhibition, and we would follow that whole framework. It'd be a whole EOI, etc. So everything will be captured.
Thank you. And I think the director wishes to add to that. Thank you.
And just to add to the manager's context there, Council will recall when we went out on exhibition for the first iteration of the incoming sponsorship policy, that as part of that resolution, we resolved that if there were no submissions, that policy would actually be adopted the day after the submissions closed, which it wasn't, and so it has been. So in between times, we actually have a live policy position that just deals with incoming sponsorship, whilst the subject of the former report and discussion goes back out on exhibition. So we have a policy that we can actually do incoming sponsorship for and seek sponsorship, and part of that, Councillor Moylan, is actually doing that due diligence. So it was caught, we agree, we're cleaning it up. So we're putting in a framework where that due diligence will be undertaken and sponsorship agreements will be formalised.
So just look, I feel like we're having an amendment talking about exactly what we're going to do anyway. Is that the case? Is it like everything in this amendment we would do under this regardless? Yes. So
I believe that's what the director.
Okay, so we're just reiterating something we're going to do. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. So the particular arrangements I have in my mind might not actually fall under the sponsorship or donation category. It may or may not. But in particular, I recall an community organisation we worked with last year where we gave them $40,000 in grants, and then I found out on their website that they were insolvent. So that's the sort of arrangement that I want to protect for.
So you're wanting to reiterate that we're just capturing our due diligence, okay? Okay. All right. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Okay. We'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against? Councillor Champion, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith. That is lost. We're now back at the original motion. Would anyone like to speak to that? Okay, I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 9.14, Young Highlands, 25 to 29. Recommendation is on page 49 of the agenda. Could I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Foley. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Champion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question through you to the GM, please. I've got a tiny bit of preamble. This isn't a speech, it's just part of the question. Environment and climate action were highlighted as key areas of concern by young people during the engagement for this strategy. Subsequently, we can see there have been calls for environment and climate to be more specifically addressed in the strategy, including a formal submission from a youth council member, which I think deserves pretty serious consideration, given that we are talking about the youth strategy. The response to Josh Mackay's submission states that there have been insertion of environment issues in engaged and included, skilled and ready and safe and connected sections. Can you, or one of the staff members, please point to how those changes have been made in the strategy, because it's not entirely clear to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Manager Community Life and Libraries is featuring heavy tonight. Ms. Badgett-Juleff.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Champion. I'll have to take it on notice. I can't see where it, so what has happened is, yes, we've ensured that we've tried to capture environment sustainability throughout the plan under those 5 headings rather than creating another theme. But I can't answer exactly which actions. I'd have to take it on notice, sorry.
Thank you. Given that I do believe that the answer to that question is critical to whether or not this strategy meets the needs of the people that it's designed to serve. With, generosity to whatever that may come back to look like, that information, I think it's important. So I would like to make an amendment, but I'm going to have to think about exactly what that looks like.
Did you want to come back to it?
Yes, please. Just see if anyone else wants to speak to it beforehand.
Yeah, does anyone speak to this? Councillor Foley?
I do agree with Councillor Champion in that we've had a submission from one of our members of the Youth Council. I think it takes a lot of integrity and mindfulness for a young person to make a submission to council. And so if there is anything within the policy that we need to really examine before it's adopted, I think it's worth taking that time now.
How are you going on that?
Can I have a procedural amendment?
Sure.
For that we take a break for 5 minutes?
For sure. Second for that. Councillor Foley, all those in favour? Unanimous. Been at 6:25, and where we were at was Councillor Champion was giving us an amendment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the time. I have just sent this to the Manager of Governance. Could we please move that the item be deferred to the next ordinary meeting of Council to enable Council officers to clarify changes made to the strategy?
Sure. Could I
You
get
haven't got it
a
yet?
seconder for that? Councillor Foley. Who moved it? Oh, I moved it. Okay, I do accept your change.
Thank you. Great.
Sorry. It's getting a bit tired. Would you like to speak to the amendment?
Thank you. Just to reiterate and appreciate what Councillor Foley said, that it does take quite a lot of kind of guts and confidence and initiative for a young person to step up and make a submission about a council strategy, and I really appreciate Josh's contribution, so I'm looking forward to finding out how that's been addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to speak to this. Okay, with that, I'll now put the amendment. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 9.15, Community Financial Assistance Grants for adoption. Could I have a mover for this? Councillor Kent, a seconder. Councillor Moylan. Councillor Kent.
I recommend it for adoption.
Thank you. And I'd like to speak to this. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a question. Is this the same scheme that Nunangulla Art Gallery received the $500,000 annual funding to fund its operations during and after the establishment stage?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the scheme before you is it's a draft that was prepared in the last 6 to 12 months, and it's coming back to Council for adoption. The funding that was provided to Nunangulla was back in 2017, I believe, or 18, and that was by resolution of the Council. So not under this framework, clearly. It was by a separate Council resolution process. The Director may wish to add to that. Thank you.
Councillor, it's not intended that the Nunangulla matter will be considered under this framework. It'll be subject to a separate report when it comes up, and I think we've discussed recently that is due to come up in the next 12 months, including, well, the review will start in the next 12 months ahead of the contract renewal, or expiry, I should say, not renewal. That's a bit jumping the gun, yeah.
Okay, thank you. What else? Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, I couldn't quite understand from the report what the situation with Exeter is. Could you just clarify that for me, please?
General Manager.
To the Director, Corporate Strategy and Resourcing. Thank you.
The headline is that the Exeter submissions refer to the fees and charges schedule and not the community assistance framework, and therefore can't be considered in this report. However, there has been conversations that have been had in response to the submission around how we address that submission outside of this report. So I guess I want to give you the reassurance that that matter hasn't just been swept away. We are considering it and what we can do and how to do that outside of this report.
Okay, thank you. Would I like to speak to this? Councillor Foley.
I have a question through you, Mr Mayor. With this new policy, it does represent a bit of a change to the way that grants are being issued to community groups who do rely on external funding. How will we know that the new policy is working? So how will the policy be assessed and reported on?
General Manager.
So, yep, Director. No, you're all over it. Director, Corporate Strategy and Resourcing. Thank you.
Councillor Foley, Normally, we would report that up through council. Well, we do. We report all of the outcomes of giving money to council through the annual report and actually through council reports proper. In this case, it's a little bit difficult. So we could say, let's bring a report back and see how it goes in 12 months. But the fact of the matter when we put this on exhibition, we actually asked council to consider keeping in place legacy arrangements for 12 months. So it'll be at least a 2-year horizon before we can actually understand, because some of those community groups won't move to the framework until next year. So it'll be, what I will say is in a couple of years, we will be able to have a better understanding of how it's working. And I think some of that will be from feedback, it'll be from volume of applications, it'll be how the funding that's allocated has been. Is it fully subscribed? Is it oversubscribed? Is it undersubscribed? So again, similar to some of the conversations earlier in the meeting, we're here to be agile and responsive. It's set up to support community to deliver. We're an enabler. This is an enabling policy. So we obviously will be responsive to feedback.
Thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Mullen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to take some time to look at some of the comments that were submitted by the community. Quest for Life saying they welcome a move away from a singular focus on Kickstart funding, and it's very limiting when long-established not-for-profit organisations receive the majority of the funding. Also the comment from Robertson C2C referring to this new scheme not being used to fund employees and not being used for operational matters. And also thank you to F. Harrison from Mossvale for recognising in this scheme a mix of community and business funding, which is how the philosophy of the funding scheme that Nunangala was under had as well, but was not afforded. And also, if we could get back to Mr. M. White from Bowral regarding the charity shop question that they had. Further, Mr. Mayor, I draw back to the point that this scheme is very, very similar to the one that Nunangala was funded by. And to the General Manager's point, that was some time ago and is still existing, the funding that is. We established in the July meeting that the funding renewal for Nunangala was not reviewed and contravening a previous resolution. So I'm very happy to see in this scheme that we now have some consistency and a good process, that there's going to be proper due diligence. There's a whole page dedicated to it. And that the applications go through also a cross-check on conflicts on interest. So a big congratulations to the Director, Corporate Strategy and Resourcing and the manager and the team. I know the heavy lifting that's been put into this scheme and I thoroughly support it. It represents the whole community and not just one community organisation.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Foley.
Just a further question around, it was mentioned, through you, Mr Mayor, it was mentioned about legacy arrangements being kept in place for 12 months, which is a form of support for groups that will be transitioning out of prior arrangements. Will there be any other support available to community groups as they sort of learn the new grant system and the requirements for funding?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Director, thank you, Ms Jones.
Yes, there will be. In terms of the detail, I might defer to the Manager, Community Life and Libraries.
Through you, General Manager. So it's moving to Smarty Grants. So most of our community assistance scheme previously was through Smarty Grants, but because we've got new categories, we'll ensure that there's training in how to do that. And we will work with or provide information sessions, etc. So you may be aware, councillors, we've had the grants guru guy come in to run sessions. So we'll make sure we align with training in how to use Smarty Grants, things that they should be aware of, because obviously our strategic plan has changed, so making sure that they know what the criteria is, etc. So we'll provide guidance and support through either one-on-one training as well as seminars, meetings, etc.
Great, thank you. Okay, who else like to speak to this? Councillor Kent.
Councillor Moylan called out some of the individual comments from community members to this, and I'd just like to just say that there's many comments in here saying the document hits the mark. So, you know, well done to council staff for putting together such a good framework. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me move this one. Apologies. Councillor Kent. Well, that was your right to reply. So I'll now put the motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Item 9.18, Code of Conduct Procedures for the Administration of Code of Conduct for Adoption. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Smith, seconder, Councillor Moylan. Councillor Smith. Okay, we'd now like to speak to this. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to propose an amendment.
Okay, could I have that wording?
So point number 3, please. Coordinate a facilitator from the Office of Local Government to facilitate training to all councillors on that in points 1 and 2. Thank you. Moving on to point 4. Coordinate a facilitator from Safe Work New South Wales to conduct training on the Work Health Safety Act 2011 to all councillors. Point number 5, thank you. Coordinate a facilitator from a law firm to conduct training to all councillors on the concept of defamation under the Defamation Act 2005. Thank you. And then point number 6, all training referred to above is to include a competency assessment test and attendance of councillors is to be documented and displayed for public viewing. Such training is to be executed and completed immediately within the next month and subsequently repeated on a 6-monthly basis. And I reserve my right to speak to that, Mr Mayor.
And just the cost for all of that?
Thank you for raising the matter of costs, Mr Mayor. The sort of behaviours in the Code of Conduct actually costs the economy $36 billion per year and employers on average 17 to 24 million per case.
Thank you, Councillor Moylan. Just to identify a cost in our budget to pay for this
from the
funding source.
HR funding budget, please.
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just to assist. So the council do have a professional development budget. You're aware over the last, you haven't quite hit the first 12-month mark yet, but you will soon. You'll have your first birthday. So in that first 12 months, we've done a lot of the basics. We've covered on work health safety, code of conduct, and now we're in the second phase. So there is an ongoing program of professional development. There is a bulk allocation in the annual budget, so we can certainly look at that, and I've received a number of suggestions from councillors when I've met with you one-on-one about what you would like to cover. So that's certainly available. And I was going to say something else, but it has left me. It will come back. All right, thank you, councillor.
So yeah, where we were was just a sort of fund of sourcing, source of funds for this operate.
Mr. Mayor, the funding that the General Manager just identified.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I need to clarify. So within the councillor facilities policy, so we have an amount, a general amount for group training. So for the sessions that we've had with you, each councillor also has an individual amount that is available for individual training. So some have expended that, some haven't. So if this is group training, it would need to come from the councillor overall training, councillor, if that makes sense. And I cannot, CFO, could you help me out with the correct title of the budget line? I think it's councillor. Councillor onboarding and professional development, Mr. Mayor, so the funds are available. Thank you.
Okay. Can I get a second for this? Councillor Russell, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Code of Conduct and the Work Health Safety Act referred to behaviours such as abuse of power, intimidation, verbal abuse, bullying behaviour, creating a hostile environment, spreading malicious rumours, belittling and humiliating comments, pressures to behave in a certain way, and it also prohibits any pre-meeting briefings without the General Manager presiding. As I was saying, bullying in this country costs the economy up to $36 billion per year, and employers on average between $17,000 and $24,000 per case from the Productivity Commission and Safe Work Australia. The cost of a conduct or safe work complaint, I've heard, is a deterrent for people to speak up, but it is far weighed out by the cost of a claim to council. Bullying also can stifle debate and quality decision making, which is obviously our role. It means councillors don't feel they can speak up and they can't make the decision they might want to otherwise make. From a protective point of view, liability to council is very relevant. The Work Health Safety Act, as we might remember, compels council to minimise any psychosocial hazards. So this training, in addition to the half hour that we've already received, as the General Manager acknowledged, will go a long way to minimising this risk. The Code of Conduct procedure, Mr. Mayor, is also very important to understand, and that's why I've suggested training on that. And there's also a procedure under the Safe Work New South Wales. Threats to make a complaint can in itself be deemed an act of bullying or intimidation. And this, you're either in the procedure to make a complaint or you're out of it. And if there's any suggestion that someone is breaching a code of conduct and it's unfairly put, then that person that has had the complaint made against them is not afforded procedural fairness, which is obviously very important. Overall, this training measure protects council, it protects the workers because we are in a workplace, there are employees obviously in this workplace, and ultimately protects the community, as we then will ensure always optimal decision making, but also it protects us as individuals and our family. Thank you.
Councillor. Would else like to speak to this amendment? Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Councillor Moylan, for sharing some of your deep learning of all of the nuances of that you've learned from your study on and consideration of this matter. We are still learning those nuances. I certainly am. And there's a reputation at all levels of government that standards of behaviour are not necessarily what they could and should be. And I think at local government, we're doing pretty well here in the Wingecarriby, but lest we forget how easy it is to slide into an unsatisfactory model of behaviour that can be witnessed in other local government areas and at other levels of government. I would like to ask Councillor Moylan actually I'll just support it on the principle that we, I don't know that, would you be happy to take out subsequently repeated on a 6-monthly basis? I think that, if we've passed a competency assessment test, then we've all been elected by our community. Would you be prepared to take that out of the amendment?
Sorry, Councillor Moore.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Russell. Thank you very much for the question. I come from a background where, at American Express, where...
Sorry, Councillor.
In answer to the question, 6-monthly training is preventative, and it is very much well worth...
So no.
I support the 6-monthly training.
Okay. Would you like to move a foreshadowed motion on that, Councillor? Sorry, amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. That's an excellent suggestion. Yes,
okay, we'll put that in the background. Councillor
Thank you very
Smith,
much.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Having gone through, we've gone through extensive training, I would think more than most councils. I'm really confused as to how this would be of an additional benefit beyond what we've done. Could I ask the General Manager, please, does she see value in this? How would it be different? Because I really believe we've had an awful lot of training and continue to have training, in my understanding.
General Manager, and I just, with a further question, not to load you up. Sorry, I'll wait. Go ahead. I was just going to say, competency is doesn't really bother me either way. But is that a service that would be on offer type thing? I can't imagine it would.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. I should have had a bigger lunch. So you are correct, Councillor Smith, in that we have undertaken a lot of training over the last, or you have, and we have with you, over the last 11 months. As a former teacher, you can never have enough learning. So what I would say is we've given the top line, and I think as councillors, as you come together as a group, you're going to be faced with challenging situations, and so it's good practice to have, I would say, refreshers and deep dives. On a very practical level, Councillor Moylan's proposed motion, the OLG will not do competency testing, so I do need to flag that with you, that it won't be possible. With your point 3, that OLG facilitate the training linked with point 6, that is not what they will do. What they will do is come and provide information. They will explain the administration of the Code of Conduct. They will not do an assessment. So if councils of a mind to support this amendment, we would need to bring in a separate trainer to do that. Just putting that there. With the discussion, just for context for everyone, with the discussion with the work health safety, we had a 45-minute session early in your onboarding back in November. And part of that was around councillor obligations under the Work Health Safety Act, dealings and behaviours towards the General Manager and staff, as well as towards each other. and psychosocial hazards, and case studies were used at that point. Given that you've had 11 months in the job now, there's probably a little bit more meaning towards that, and I would see that there would be benefit for everyone to have that refresher, Councillor Smith.
Okay, anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Farrell.
I'll be brief this time. I vigorously oppose all of the amendment that Councillor Moylan's put forward.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this? Okay, with that, I'll now put
Oh, sorry, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. If we modified or changed Office of Local Government to Local Government New South Wales, would that assist?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I would need to check, but my understanding is they don't actually do a competency-based assessment as part of the training that they offer. So if the council was of mind to support that amendment as it stands, we would need to find an approved trainer that has that competency. What I would also say is we're doing this anyway with you in terms of an ongoing program. Thank you.
Okay. Believe I was that who moved. Apologies, who moved this? Councillor Smith.
We've got to put the amendment.
Sorry, I'm getting tired. So this is the amendment. We'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan. All those against? Councillor Champion, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith. We did have foreshadowed, which was the same with the removal of 6 months from Councillor.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll also take reference out to the Office of Local Government and just leave it coordinator facilitator to facilitate training, and then down in that, yes, and we take out the and complete it at the earliest possible convenience, knowing that the scheduling.
And you're keeping.
Yep.
And you're keeping a competency assessment in?
Yep.
Okay. The seconder for this, Councillor Moylan. Councillor Russell.
I've said it all, but I think it's good to have. It's good to be able to have these discussions. Over the last period of time, we've already, had some rather informal discussions about differing ideas about what brings council into disrepute, things like that. Like, these are ideas that we can only grow our ideas through and grow our understanding in a non-judgmental way about learning of each other's different perspectives on these matters. And I do think that it's really good to be able to have these healthy insights so we can essentially improve our communications, improve our overall competency as a council, and hopefully at the end of that, our reputation with the community.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak to, thank you, Mr Mayor. I take on board Councillor Russell's point about we have varying backgrounds, and this is a great measure to make sure that we're all on the same page literally when it comes to something vital. But also I take on board Councillor Russell's point that this is much about us as it is about the staff that we're working with, but also the clear message it sends to the community that this council does not tolerate bullying in any shape or form, and that we treat each other with respect always. So I think there is no problem in being trained on something so vital. I do want to reference that the session we had was about 30 minutes. So we do need a lot more training on this and to ensure that everybody understands it. Often the times the people that think that they understand it are the ones most at risk. So I urge everybody to consider Councillor Russell's amendment for themselves, for staff, for our families and the community.
Thank you. Councillor Foley?
The suggestion, point number 3, coordinating training on points 1 and 2. I believe that the Code of Conduct, by its intent, is to, instruct us on the best way to work as councillors. And so I'm not against having a refresher training. I found the training in November quite useful, and it's actually something that I've referred to personally since that time. It may have been a short session, but we can all take it upon ourselves to study outside of the facilitated sessions. And so I'd like to propose a foreshadowed motion that retains points 1, 2 and 3 and removes points 4, 5 and 6.
Okay, thank you. We have that foreshadow in the background. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan, have you spoken?
Not
Yes.
to the foreshadow motion.
We're not on that yet.
Oh, we're not there yet.
So, okay, anyone else? With that, I'll now put the amendment, Councillor Russell's amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell. All those against? Councillor Fitzpatrick, Councillor Chairman, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith. We now... Sorry.
Tiffany.
Put her in there anyway. No, I'm kidding. So no Councillor Duffy. Now we're back at the original motion, but we have to go to the foreshadowed motion, which is Councillor Foley. Councillor Foley, would you like to speak to this? Okay. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan? Sorry, could I have a seconder? Going a bit too fast. Councillor Smith. Councillor Foley didn't want to speak to it. Councillor Moylan, you have the floor.
Yes, whilst I appreciate Councillor Foley's rationale here, a big part of what we're talking about here is the Work Health Safety Act. And this actually, Work Health Safety Act goes straight to protecting staff because that refers to employees, and we're, as councillors, whilst we're not employees, we're considered others under that Act. And council has an obligation to prevent any bullying, except psychosocial hazards under that Act. So I fear that only concentrating on the Code of Conduct is only half a resolution here. We need to make sure that, and in fact, if you only concentrate on the Code of Conduct, you could be misled to not understanding the impact of certain behaviours on our liability and employees.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to this. Councillor Russell.
Can I ask a question through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager? Is it possible that even without putting it in there, that we'd be having some training from the Work Health and Safety?
General Manager.
Yep, thank you, Mr Mayor. As I mentioned before, we have an ongoing program with you. When I caught up with you all individually, you gave some feedback about the sessions that you would like to see over the next 12 months. And I'm working with the Manager Governance and the Director to arrange that. So it will, as you're correct, Councillor Russell, it will happen as a matter of course.
Okay, thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Okay, with that, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 9.22, Development Assessment Progress. Sorry, did I miss something? Good? All right. I'm clearly tired. So can I just pull my screen up again? Okay, so we now have the motion. Yep, I'm just pulling that up, just so I'm not going to keep going too fast. Okay, I'll wait till the words are up.
This is the motion.
Yes.
With 3.3 on.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
I am concerned with removing the personal accountability in the previous amendment where we said that, where I suggested that we make available attendance publicly. This is part of sending a clear message to the community that we are taking code of conduct and outside of this WHS training seriously, and that we have a culture of preventing bullying. So I do urge anyone to submit a further amendment to reinstate that clause. If we're, I don't see why any councillor would be reluctant to prove and show that they are attending these trainings. Sometimes councillors are in and out of training and might miss something vital. So I do urge any councillor to look to resubmit that amendment back in.
Thank you. Would else like to speak to this? General Manager.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, just for councillors' information, you're about to come up to your first annual report. In the annual report, it actually lists what training you've attended as part of our annual reporting. So that will already occur, Councillor Moylan. It's part of our statutory reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Question through you, Mayor, to the General Manager. Does that include, though, if someone has left the room for a large chunk of the training?
General Manager.
I'll ask the Corporate Strategy and Resourcing Director to respond to that. Councillor Russell.
Councillor Russell, when we undertake the training, you all sign an attendance sheet, and that's the basis on which we compile the information for the annual report. So what I would say is it's not as nuanced as being able to track how many hours of the session each councillor participates in. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Could I ask a question through the Mayor to the General Manager? So just to reaffirm, you mentioned before that we can, as councillors at any stage, give feedback on areas of training so that we can have in the future, and that there will continue to be ongoing training. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And one more question, Mr Mayor, if that's okay. Councillor Moylan mentioned bullying several times. Can I just reaffirm that anything around bullying would be taken very seriously, not only in training, but if any councillors had any concerns around that, there are a whole range of processes. Is that right?
General Manager.
As with all councillors and employees, yes. And in the handbook that councillors were given, there are links in there, there are processes, and of course I'm always available, or the Director Corporate Strategy and Resourcing, or the Manager Governance. And I know a number of you reach out to us daily, sometimes multiple times a day, to seek advice, and of course we're there for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Farrell.
There is ongoing training programs already in the pipeline. I don't see any reason to have point 3 in it.
Thank you. Okay. With that, I will now put Councillor Kent.
I'd just like to comment that in terms of messages to the community, that the excellent induction program that we've all been through, if the community is engaged in that level of detail, has been fantastic and has set us up well as a council. So I think it's been a very positive process in the last 9 to 10 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who moved that? Councillor Farley, would you like right of reply? Okay, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? That is Councillor Champion, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against? Councillor Farrell. Okay. Item 9.22, Development Assessment Progress. The recommendation is on page 72. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Foley, a seconder. Councillor Moylan. Councillor Foley.
Nothing to say except it's great to see that we're tracking on DAs.
Great. Councillor Moylan.
Yes, a big congratulations to, through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director of Communities in Place and the whole team. I contemplated when I saw these results that I have never once heard the Director of Communities and Place ever referred to legacy or I've inherited this. He has shown nothing but accountability and has owned this this problem. And I take my hat off to you, Director. I have a question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director of Communities and Place. What is it that changed for us to get this remarkable result for the month of July?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just say, Councillor Moylan, I appreciate the positive feedback, and I think what has changed is consistent effort. We are building a team that are professional, committed, proud of what they do, and are customer and community focused. I think the leadership of John Shalito as the Manager, Development and Regulatory Assessment has been outstanding, and I would say Mr. McCabe has also been outstanding. Mr. McCabe.
Through you, General Manager, thank you for the comments. The work is not complete, far from it. And I would echo the General Manager's comments. It's really been about hard, dedicated work from staff and building a skilled, knowledgeable team who want to represent the Shire and do great things for the Shire.
Thank you. Yeah, great to pick this up, Councillor Moylan. Mr. McCabe doesn't often get praise, I think. I mean, from the outside world, from the outside, he does from in here, and I think I've said this before. Mr. McCabe is one of the most professional people I've ever worked with, and I think he's outstanding. And the guys, John and the team below him, do incredible work, and they have had a massive weight on their shoulders, and they're making massive progress, and they aren't congratulated enough as far as I'm concerned, and I look forward to our milestones, and thank you. Councillor Smith.
We had a discussion about traditional media earlier. I'm just wondering if traditional media will like to take up this good news story.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
I'd like to say that it's not entirely my experience that Mr. McCabe hasn't talked about backlog in the past, but he's doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. I'd just like to speak to this. With that, I will now put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Okay, item 10.18, sorry, Code of Meeting Practice. Councillor Moylan, would you like to move your motion? And could I get a seconder? Councillor Russell. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I've put in the notice of motion, I'm looking to double the amount of times that we meet in council, except for the month of January and only once in the month of December. And the reason for this is we have had a lot of work come through this council in our first year since administration. And on one occasion, we had a business paper which was 1,800 pages. So when you calculate that back, it's 300 pages per night that a councillor was expected to read, comprehend, and not only do that, but research, talk to community members, etc. And we've had meetings where, even this one, we go late into the night and we are here for 6 to 7 hours. So this is not conducive, in my opinion, to good decision making, which is what our role is. We've also seen on a number of occasions a motion to reduce the time that councillors speak. This flies in the face of democracy and effective advocacy for community, which is our role. We've also had calls to speed up and that we've got a lot to get through. We pass a lot of motions by exception. These are motions that staff have spent time on, Mr. Mayor, and these reports need to be given due consideration. And further to that, a lot of these reports that go through under exception are actually impacting the community. So before we were in administration, we did meet fortnightly. And that's what I'm looking to reinstate. We're in a growing area. Our work will only grow from here. And with all of the work that we are required to do a good job, we simply need to meet twice, in my opinion. We also need to restore trust with the community since the administration, and to give financial management, due diligence, community advocacy and governance. It all takes time. So in my opinion, and I've seen some questions that other councils doing this, quite frankly, we need to focus on our council and not worry about what other councils are doing. Having said that, Wingecarribee Shire did used to meet twice a month, and so is Shoalhaven Shire currently. I've also seen comments that this is hubris. I find hubris is excessive self-confidence. I see this as service to community, not hubris.
Thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Kent.
I'd like to speak against this motion. I've observed that these longer meetings are actually a relatively new trend for us. So I'm going to go through the closure times of our meetings since coming into office. October 24, 4:17 p.m, November 24, 5:24 p.m, December 24, 5:16 p.m, February after a 2-month hiatus, 6:27. That was the one where it's 800 pages. March 25, 5:41. April 25, 5:22. We hit May, and that's where we end up with these really long meetings. So I'm going to offer some comments in good faith to my fellow councillors. I've observed that starting May 25, the agendas have not gotten longer or more complex. It is that motions or amendments are being raised to the meeting for the first time without prior consultation between fellow councillors. If new motions or amendments are brought into the council, and including tonight, I think my number is, had notes on this, 9.1, 9.4, 9.9, 9.10, 9.12, 9.18, etc. If they're brought into forums without some prior discussion and exchange of ideas, it will necessarily extend the meeting. Prior to May, we had that exchange of ideas. Of the 128 councils in New South Wales, approximately 73% meet once a month, whilst the remaining meet more than once a month. It is also noted that councils such as ours, where we have an established local planning panel, are not required to present DAs for council determination, which often removes the need for more than one meeting a month. I respectfully submit that rather than double up on the number of meetings, with ensuing doubling up of staff efforts in preparing for meetings, and therefore delaying the delivery program, that we remain focused on why we're here, which is to deliver for the people of the Shire. If this means councillors go back to discussing items and exchanging ideas with their fellow councillors before meetings, then that is what should happen. Such an approach will see us remaining focused on the right people and the right outcomes, which is efficient meetings and charging through the delivery program. For these reasons, I urge you to vote this motion down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I would also like to speak to this. Councillor Champion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to be clear why I oppose doubling the frequency of the meetings by addressing the arguments made for the motion by Councillor Moylan. Firstly, I agree we don't go often late into the night. Compared to other councils, we have fairly reasonable meeting durations. Secondly, yes, council previously did have fortnightly meetings, but in those days it also had more material to get through. Given council is no longer the consent authority for DAs and currently has very little involvement in the existing committees, making this comparison is a total red herring. Moreover, if we had twice as many meetings, I don't believe for a second that it would halve the length or number of items on each agenda. I believe the meetings would grow and the total number of items would increase, possibly with no gain for the community. I have no opposition to changes in process that would serve our role at all, but more meetings does not mean more democracy. I believe this is bureaucracy for its own sake. Finally, I want to add that 6 out of 9 of the councillors have young children, and this feels like a move designed to make it harder, not easier, for people with caring responsibilities to participate fully in the role. So I object to this on grounds of inefficiency, but also because it's unnecessary and it's poor social justice.
Point of order, Mr Mayor.
Point of order.
Imputing improper motives. I certainly take offence to the suggestion that the reason for this is to make it harder for people with families. I reject that outright.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Champion?
I would like to withdraw the specific words that it's designed to make it harder, but reiterate that that's what it does.
Thank you. Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Councillor Champion and Councillor Kent. You've made excellent points and very detailed and considered. I support everything you've said. I will remind councillors, we have voted on this before. I also believe that more meetings isn't better democracy, as you said. Longer meetings does not make for better decision making, dragging things out. I think we need to be very clear on why we're here. The other point that needs to be made is also staff time in this, not just staff time in meetings, the time that it takes to prepare meetings. We have really pushed for staff to be efficient and do their best possible job, and making a fortnightly meeting schedule would simply hold stuff up and would be busy work for work's sake. Thank you.
Thank you. Would I like to speak to this? Councillor Foley?
I'd like to echo the comments made by my fellow councillors Kent, Smith and Champion, and I appreciate the points that they've so eloquently put forward tonight. As to the reasons why I will also not be supporting this motion, effective communication is also about being able to manage time well. As councillors, we all have busy and full lives outside of the council chambers, and rightly so, real people with real jobs and real lives who are connected and busy in the community make great councillors. However, that does mean that time is of the utmost importance to us, and having effective and efficient meetings means that we are enacting effective communication between each other.
Thank you. Councillor Farrell, then we'll go Councillor Russell.
Just stating the bleeding obvious, I'm in favour of what Councillor Kent, Champion, Smith and Foley just said, and echo those words.
Thank you. Councillor Russell?
While I will respect Councillor Champion's points that she's raised about meeting family needs and and diversity and representation, and on that grounds I will be voting against. There's clearly a role for us here through this particular notice of motion to have a discussion and a contemplation on what has got us to this point. Firstly, the business paper that was over 2,000 pages was absolutely unacceptable and posed a significant risk to any responsible governance for such a significant paper, that it contained anything other than documents which had been amended. Even though they had been out on public exhibition, they had come back with changes, and some of those changes were in the devil in the detail. And it was perhaps one of the most stressful times of my life trying to digest that. And I want to make sure that we are never placed in that situation again. And I am speaking that strongly. I was at the Land and Planning and Environmental Law Conference in May, actually, with the Secretary of Local Government, Brett Whitworth, and he did actually flag the risks that are posed when we have business papers, even the size today, it's over 600 pages, just in terms of what we're doing and the quality of the work that we're doing on behalf of our community. In the interests of robust discussion, I will point out to Councillor Kent that in the May meeting, and my colleagues will know, I have consistently shared any amendments with everyone via email, unless it has been something that I've thought of in the moment or has been raised in the public gallery. And I was astonished, actually, in the May meeting to be presented with amendments and significant changes on the aquatic strategy by Councillor Kent that I had no forewarning about after I'd been working on a very principled basis, actually. So I'm glad that we're all engaged in that reflective practice, but knowing as well that sometimes matters don't occur until we're listening to what people are thinking and what's being raised in discussions by fellow councillors on a matter. And it's really important, I believe, as the Minister for Local Government, Ron Honig, is saying, that we have those discussions openly, accountably, with our reasoning for the community. So I would say that we respectfully ask, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, that we just have an eye on what's being presented to us and the form it's being presented in, and so that we resolve the issue of overly lengthy meetings, but we still have healthy discussions on behalf of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to this. Okay, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Sorry. Apologies, I've done that to you twice tonight. I apologise. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you very much, councillors, for engaging in the debate on this one. I will acknowledge a lot of the points councillors have made. Councillor Kent, thank you for the analysis on the hours in the meetings. I would say that the more work that comes through in a growing community, those hours will actually get longer. But nevertheless, this does not address the fact that we have had meetings when there has been a motion for a reduction in time, and that definitely does affect democracy. Also, Councillor Kent, I take on board your analysis on the number of councillors who only meet once. I reiterate, I am not interested in other councillors here. I'm only interested in ours. And that's also the approach I take to parenting. Your point, Councillor Kent, thank you. I do take it on board about not doubling up on staff work. I want to reiterate that I'm looking at the same amount of work that staff will put through, but literally cutting it in two. So it's not an addition in terms of staff's work, it's just a different structure. Thank you, Councillor Champion, for your point about more meetings, not meaning more democracy. I take this on board. However, I do think with more clear minds, we are more conducive to making better decisions. So I actually think that does address better democracy. Councillor Smith, thank you very much. Again, similar point. The staff time point, I do think that we throw away a lot of the staff time and the work that they so diligently put into these reports by passing it through exception. I would like to look at us giving those reports their due consideration. I take on Councillor Jim's point. However, I would like to actually hear his reasons. I understand that you're objecting to this, but I would like to understand your reasoning. And Councillor Russell, I take on your point that at times you have been stressed. I don't think you're the only one. And this obviously is not conducive to good decision making. So I want to make it clear that this is not more work. It's a structural change so that we can do our jobs better and service the staff and the time that they've put into reports better. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I now put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan. All those against? Councillor Champion, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. With that, I will close the meeting at 7:23. Thank you.